Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 611. It is August 22nd, 2019. I'm your host, Nick Henderson, and I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Woo, blowing out your ears.
The illustrious Edward Mitchell.
Hello, everyone.
Christopher Guthridge.
Whoa.
That was pretty good.
One.
That was pretty good.
Look at that.
Hey, Ed, can you turn on, you unmute that thing?
They know he's here.
Yep.
Sorry. Davis is here as well. Good evening. Good evening. All right.
That was not. That did not pick up.
We were. I had it backwards. Right, try again.
You just muted me. There. Now they can hear him.
Muting you is that so bad, Brad?
We do a live show here, guys.
Can we restart? No, this probably sounds great in podcast.
I just want to say.
I'm done doing.
I just want to say.
Oh, you mean Nick? You muted Nick.
Yeah.
I just want to say every show where we say at least once, "Can we start over?" Those usually end up being our best shows, which means tonight. It's going to be great.
You just jinxed it.
We've got a great show we got a great show lined up for you tonight. I do want to mention a couple things, of course, as usual, before we get started.
You forgot feedback, you dummy.
I haven't gotten there
We're
yet.
not there yet.
We're not there yet, you son of a bitch. First of all, let me just say, of course, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, Patreon.com/4Player is a big thing we're pushing right now because we are trying to work towards our next goal of getting 150 patrons. That's any patron, whether you're a $1 patron or a $3 patron or a $10 patron. It doesn't matter. We need 150 total. We've had a few new ones since last week. We are, I think, 16 or 17 away from hitting that goal. And when we hit it, we're going to plan and do our next Project M event. And if you haven't been around for very long, it's usually a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. It's the thing we do here on this.
It's a bit of an event.
It's a bit of an event. We usually play a game. We race through a game together, all in the same room, race it against each other in a game.
Until we hate the game and each other.
Yes, actually, precisely. We've played such lovely, wonderful games like Super Mario 64, but I do recall being very angry at some point during that stream.
I was angry watching you guys.
And yes, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Ed, that'll be the first
time. I ended like 3 hours after everybody. Don't talk to me about it.
But you know what? That was also was it your first time playing?
That was my first time.
First time playing it. So that made it a fun experience.
It was.
Ed, this will be your first opportunity to do so. Are you in?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Fuck.
Can't remember what game we're playing, but
I just remember very specifically, distinctly, vividly,
passionately.
I drove home. So it was the Mario 64 marathon and I had finished the game and it was getting to the point where I don't still need to be here. Krispy was still playing. So I just left and I went home and I was laying in bed and I opened up the stream and it was some level where Krispy had to aim the cannon at a star.
Oh my God!
And I was sitting in bed going, "That's too high." And it was too high, and he was so not happy.
Oh man,
that fucking because you had to get all the way to that point.
But you know what?
The big cliffy.
You know what? It was a lot of fun, and if I remember correctly, we raised almost $3,000 for charity during that event. So
that was nuts.
It was good. It was fun. So when we hit 150 patrons, which we're only 15 or 16 away at this point, we'll plan that, and we'll hopefully. I would love to do it before the end of the year. We'll see what happens, but if you want to support us, go to patreon.com/4player, and you can help us reach that goal. I also want to mention Discord. That is an absolutely free way you can get in touch with us. You can keep in touch with the community, talk about video games, talk about news, all this kind of stuff over at discord.gg/4player. And before we go any further, I'm going to start with feedback tonight.
I'm going to say it right now. If we get 20 more patrons past our Project M goal, we're going to do another year month.
Uh-oh. All right, he just made that up
Not
on
this
the
year,
fly.
though.
2016 month.
No, what if we do 2000?
That's probably what you fucking crybabies want.
No, I want.
This game's so old.
I want 2019 month. Just do the current year.
We do it next year.
It'll force my hand to make me play new stuff,
No.
which I'm lacking behind right now.
Maybe we'll do.
We should do a month based on somebody's top 10 list.
Maybe a month based on
actually
someone's top
that's
10
actually
list.
Everyone
pretty good
has to
idea.
play those games.
That would be cool.
Only if it's an old top 10 list. Damn it!
Well, sure.
Hey, my top 10 list is almost, or my top 10.
The whole point of the year
top
months
10.
are that they're somewhat retro-y.
Yeah, my list wouldn't be very good for that.
Quit talking, or we're doing the 80s.
No! We gotta go to an arcade.
My video will be pretty good.
Oh God. Anyways, that is not a bad idea, Chris. Maybe you can hone that a little bit into something really juicy.
Well, I'm the only
special.
one with the top 10 of all time, so
Hey,
fucking enjoy.
I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I am almost done with my with my notes, my script.
plus I already forced Krispy to play all my top 10.
That's true.
Me.
You goaded him into that.
You got Final Fantasy 10?
My top 10 list, my top 10 video is
I didn't
almost
play Suikoden 2.
almost ready to enter production. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Production.
Aren't you proud of me, Chris Davis?
Didn't think this day would ever come.
I know. All right, feedback, guys. We of course start every episode with feedback. We read responses from our last episode. So if you hear anything tonight that you want to contribute or chime in on, I guess, go to 4playernetwork.com. That's the number 4. I had someone ask me how to get to our website, and they listened to our show. I try and say it a lot, but it's the number 4playernetwork.com. So just go there, find the post for this episode.
Go to our Twitter. It's linked
leave us a comment.
there.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's
Do
everywhere.
you spell out number, or is it just N-O?
I hate you so much. Let's read some feedback from last week. Drew327, loyal commenter. He always likes to leave comments. It's very nice. He says, I just finished Metro Exodus. Thank you, Game Pass on PC. There was a bit of a hump to get over in the beginning, trying to get used to the slower movement, but I ended up loving it. Great characters and story, also slightly bragging, but the game really takes advantage of a decent PC and home theater with really great sound. I also finished Plague Tale. It was pretty fun, but way more limited in scope. I think that was stemming from we were trying to convince Brad to actually play Metro, because for whatever reason he has it in his head that it's like not something that should be on the top of his priority list. I don't know.
It's not exactly how that conversation went, but
Maybe
sure.
I'm putting words in your mouth. You're not going to play it, Brad? Still planning on sitting that one out?
all I was saying is how when you're not as into something, even if other people are, you know, then I'm like.
But when was I not into it? I think you need to re-listen to our show where I talked about Metro. I thought I was pretty enthusiastic about it.
But you were like
it?
You were like a just above lukewarm.
It was cool playing the progression, like, because I started with 2033, like right before it
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
you played them like back to back to back,
and it was really cool to see the progression of it.
Part of it was that I didn't really like the first two that much.
Well, this is a very different, not very. That might be a bit of a.
The gameplay's like
a bit
the
of a
same,
stretch.
but the world structure is
The
way
world
different.
structure is totally different,
Yeah.
and that makes a big difference. Anyways, Grab a Beer says the discussion about Sekiro was also interesting to me. Was very interesting to me as well. Sorry, I can't read tonight. Let me start this over.
You also always say grab a beer real slow, almost like you're slurring your words.
Grab a beer.
Had a few beers.
Grab a Beer
Just out of
says
habit.
the discussion about Sekiro was very interesting to me as we all must view things in two very different lights. Nick said he continued to hit a wall and would continue to fight bosses up to 50 plus attempts. This is what I would consider madness. I loved Demon Souls, but when I got to Dark Souls, I attempted the Capra Demon about 30 times, getting more and more frustrated with each attempt. When I finally defeated him, I threw down my controller and said out loud, quote unquote, "That was not satisfying in the slightest. I don't feel like I achieved anything. I don't understand how anyone could enjoy this."
There were a couple times when I was playing Sekiro where, like, I literally, like, died 30, 40 times, and then I just quit out of the game, and then came back the next day and beat the boss.
The thing is, like, he's talking specifically about having that feeling after you finish the boss, because for me, it's when I fight a boss over and over and over again, and then I stop, I give up. That's when I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. But I have the exact opposite reaction. The moment I actually win a fight, it's like all of that frustration is just...
That's where the dopamine
I did not feel that way.
The dopamine hits
I
you hard.
never feel that way. I'm like, what's his face?
Grab a beer?
Grab a beer. Like, I'm like, that was like when I'm streaming and people in chat will be like, yeah, I'll be like, shut up, don't celebrate. That wasn't
Yeah.
That wasn't
He
satisfying.
beats Gascoigne or Amelia, the vicar, or whatever, and is like, yeah, that was easy. What the fuck?
No. It's not that was easy.
Which one was it? Which one was the one that you beat? And then
Oh, the
was
because
like,
I remember leak.
was like glitch.
No. It's never like I mean, whatever. It's never
Just
like that was
joke,
easy. It's
Brad.
more of just like. So what I've always been saying, what I've been saying for years, is like I don't like boss fights in Souls games. I mean, for a lot of people, maybe because those are like big talking points, but it seems like that's people really are into the boss fights in the Souls games, and for me, it's like all the other stuff that's exciting. Boss fights are just.
I think boss fights in those
roadblocks.
games are great for boss fights, but every time I hit one, I always have that sinking feeling in my
Yeah,
stomach.
like
of
you have to figure it out.
where I'm like, well, this could be easy, or this could potentially
Right.
be a wall I'm about to hit that's going to stop me from enjoying all the other stuff that I love about this game.
I like
You
exploring
know what?
and building a cool character.
I think I agree more with Brad than I do with Nick,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I usually play online.
That's true. Not every game in this series has that option. Obviously, Sekiro doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dark
But
Souls,
all the Souls games
Neo,
and
Bloodborne.
if I want to play a game where I fight tough bosses, I'll play Monster Hunter. That's all they are, and they're a lot better.
It's funny. I could literally. We are talking about two totally different ways of looking at it though, because I could literally be ready to snap a controller in half or throw my controller through my television, but the moment I win, it's like the greatest feeling in the world for
That's
me.
pretty much how I am too.
So, and to answer your question, Man of the Lamb in chat, no, I have not beat the monkey yet. I put it down. I decided to switch to a palate cleanser for a little bit, which I'll talk about tonight. But yeah, I have not finished the monkey yet. I'll try again soon, probably this weekend. Sorry, to
Try
finish
stuffing a Nergigante. Now that's satisfying.
to finish off Grab a Beer's comment, he says, I'm not ragging on anyone who does enjoy the series. Hell, I've attempted Bloodborne, Neo, Salt and Sanctuary, etc., and I've hated all of them. But I will say it is very interesting to me that the thing that keeps a lot of fans intrigued and engaged is the exact thing that makes me never want to touch another game in the series ever again. That is in fact interesting. Science. Someone should study that. Ash has our next comment. I think Ash is actually a new paid subscriber on Patreon. Says, Brad's remark... This is a short one. Brad's remark about his Fruit Loops tasting like quote-unquote cummy Apple Jacks made me laugh so hard that I had to pull my car over. There you go. Brad's a comedic genius.
I'm trying to remember the context.
Yeah,
I remember saying it. I don't remember why.
What is wrong with Fruit Loops?
They taste like cummy Apple Jacks, apparently.
Oh.
Whatever that...
No, we were talking about Amelie style pranks, switching Fruit Loops to Apple Jacks, and then the eater going, "What? This is strange." Oh my god! And then I think it was my prank is coming in their cereal or something, something to that effect.
Yeah, it went way farther than I think it was intended.
Yeah.
Anyways, you should listen to last week's episode if you have no idea what we're talking about. Gonzo Lude says, 9 years listening to this podcast, I've never heard Nick rage on the podcast quite like that. It makes me want to watch his Sekiro streams and watch him rage some more.
I'm surprised you even stream Sekiro.
I have been very, very... The only reason I ever stream it is when I'm like, well, I said I was going to stream tonight, but I really want to play Sekiro.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stream Sekiro. Which doesn't happen often, but I do it occasionally. And our last comment tonight comes from Slopdog. It says, while I enjoyed them more as a kid, I think of corn dogs now as one of the lowest forms of sausage food. The word that's a good sentence. That is a good sentence right there. The worst part is always eating around the wooden stick inside.
That's true.
That part sucks.
But damn,
I would just rip a corn dog off the steak and throw out the steak. I kind of have a thing about
you can do it with your mouth,
wood in my mouth. I can't do it.
Oh, there
yeah,
we go.
you do.
No,
This show just got interesting.
tongue depressors. I can't eat a popsicle. The wooden stick. Oh.
So you never smoke a pipe or anything?
No, no woodwind instruments.
A
nothing.
toothpick? You can't even do a toothpick in your
You
mouth?
would never play a clarinet.
No, what?
A toothpick?
No.
Wow.
Plastic toothpick, please.
Wait, I gave you that Psychonauts toothbrush, which was made of wood.
I would never use it.
Oh, that's good. You probably wouldn't want to. Sorry, to finish his comment, he says, but damn, I'd definitely marry Mustard and lay her down to explore her varied flavors and have Ketchup be my side chick. This is a fuck, marry, kill.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Ed was looking at me very confused, like.
Wait, between corn dogs?
No.
Mustard,
It was
and
fuck, marry, kill, Ketchup, Mustard, and what was the other one?
Mayo.
And mayo.
Oh, kill mayo.
Yeah, kill me for sure.
He says, and then I'd kill. No, it was
No,
ranch.
fuck
It was not
Ew.
mayo. It was ranch. It was ketchup, mustard, or ranch.
Fuck mayo
Oh,
because
ketchup,
it's the least
mustard,
likely to
ranch.
burn.
Mary Ranch, fuck mustard, kill ketchup.
See, we were all
Don't fuck mustard. That seems like it would maybe be Bernie.
Beef Bernie.
It
I
burned
mean, I
your
don't
wee-wee.
particularly want to fuck any of them.
Yeah. And then he says, and Brad saying "ropey" multiple times this episode made me more happy than I can
All
say.
right, let's move
A
on.
top tier episode of the podcast this year, made only better by Cummy Applejacks. You got that mentioned twice. Again, thank you guys so much for your comments. If you want to say anything after tonight's discussions, please go to 4playernetwork.com, leave us a comment on the post of this episode, and we'll read it next week. Let's talk about video games. I want to start with you, Ed, real quick.
All right.
Since it's been a while since we've had you on the show. You've been you've
been
been
busy.
busy with sports and vacations and
Yeah.
such.
My wife was on summer vacation, so
Ah,
that means I also leave the city for extended periods of time.
gotcha. You've been playing video games though while you've been
Oh
out.
yeah.
Tell us what you've been playing.
So, kind of the beginning of the vacations was kind of a little bit of a focus on South Park and the Stick of Truth.
Oh, that's random.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was like
That was not on the dock. That was a
no,
deep
I
cut.
forgot about that. So
That Obsidian joint.
I got I think I'm halfway through it before I started on something else. So,
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. I like it. The combat system is actually surprisingly fun.
I can't. That is still. I've never touched either of those South Park. There's two of them. now.
Yeah. there's
I've
two.
never touched either
You're
one
not
of
really
them.
big South Park guy.
I mean, I watched the first 14 seasons in their entirety.
So play Stick of Truth.
Yeah, I probably
At some
should.
point.
I know.
It's
should.
on the Switch,
They're
I
not
think,
long,
right?
right? They're both.
I
they're
think it's
both-
on the
Yeah,
Switch.
they're both. Yeah, they are. I'm playing Stick of
That
Truth on
first
the
one
Switch.
was pretty-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it's like 10 hours, 12 hours or something.
And then I was on vacation for a while, and then Fire Emblem came out, and I've been playing that religiously.
Okay.
So I sent Chris Davis a link to a Google Doc that I made, but I don't know if he can get it to render on the stream. But I created this gigantic spreadsheet of all the different characters, their strengths and weaknesses, so I could accurately plan out their what classes I wanted to use for them, what goals I wanted to practice on.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. Here,
Do you have a
That's-
recruitment?
That's. Oh my God, he's not kidding. Look
Yeah.
at. Oh my lord.
What school are you?
Black Eagles.
Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, I'm
I-
Black Eagles as
I was
well.
a-
I know you all are because you're just you're plebes. Everyone chooses Black
I mean,
Eagles.
I wanted to.
Because magic's cool, bro.
I want to be with Petra.
Everybody, yeah, and I'm gonna steal Petra from your stupid school.
All right. Well, anyway,
I'm gonna steal all the cool people, and you keep all your lame ass nobles and jerks.
So I'm
Wait, what school are you?
almost to
Golden Deer.
I'm almost to chapter 11, which is where the split happens.
All right,
And
I have a question.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I picked up this game not last weekend, but the weekend before that,
You were
right?
looking for something to play on Friday, and I forgot that you had Fire Emblem. And if I remember that, I would have said, "Well, why not just play Fire Emblem?" And now
I was
gonna
looking
beat you up.
for something to play on Friday.
Yeah, you were like, "Oh, I have Friday off or something, and I'm gonna play something." And you're like, "I'm thinking of maybe Darksiders 3 or something else." And I was like, "Maybe you should do Max Payne or
Maybe-
something." And you're like,
oh,
"I'm not
right,
gonna do that."
right.
And I was like, I wasn't thinking of Fire Emblem, but now that I think about it, it totally should have been Fire
you said-
Emblem.
It's funny you say I wasn't thinking about Fire Emblem.
Yeah,
So this is the third Fire Emblem game because this one looks really cool. So I picked
know.
it up.
This is the one
Right?
for you. Yeah,
This is the one for me, right?
This is the one for
Why
you.
can't I like when I'm not playing it? I'm not thinking about it.
How much have you played? Though?
I like because of the fact that I'm not thinking about it. Therefore, I'm not getting myself excited to play it. I've only played 3 hours.
So I get really
Have you
excited.
taught your kids
I've done
yet?
I've done one actual battle.
Have you taught your students yet?
I literally just got to the point
Yeah,
where they
yeah,
said
yeah.
I'm teaching.
So
I'm
once
in
you
first
once you get to
class.
that point and you're focusing on what goals they should practice on, because you want them to get into certain classes so they can eventually get one of my problems with this game is it doesn't let you see what the classes are, like the advanced and master classes are, to kind of so you can help plan out your
you
route.
can see them, right?
You can't see them until you're that professor level.
Okay,
And
so
so the
I've just reached that point. I
Yeah,
haven't
so
done much
you can
beyond
see
that.
you can see the intermediate classes, which are the ones that are above so commoner and noble are like the ones that everyone starts with, and then there's the sword, lance, axe, and magic users, and that's the basic classes.
It's a wiki game for sure.
Oh yeah, like so I spent a very long time just like going through all the different characters and figuring out what I wanted to plan.
right.
I also get really obsessed over classes.
Maybe I should stream it
Are you
once
planning
just so
to
I can
steal
like
anyone?
have chat like help me get over the.
I know
Yeah.
you want Leone, bitch. She's not
No,
yours.
I've been focusing on not Marianne. It's the one that like is going to become a Pegasus Knight, or is a Pegasus Ingrid.
Ingrid.
Yeah,
So you're on chapter 11. I'm still back in like
I'm
chapter
chapter
1.
10, so I'm about
No,
to.
I think I'm on chapter 2.
Yeah, but like I'm like right at the point where the story really splits, and then you start getting a bunch of reveals and stuff like that. From what I
Gotcha. See, I need to get that.
understand,
shit.
because there's four different routes after
Yeah,
chapter
don't go
11
into
that
too much detail, but
you
yeah.
can go on.
Yeah.
There's like one for each house, and then there's another one.
Question:
like a secret route.
if you're a lady character,
yeah,
can you romance lady characters?
Yes.
yes, some of them.
Sweet.
Yeah, because I'm a male. I played the male Byleth, and I can romance Linhart, which is the priest from the Black Eagle's
Gotcha.
house. But yeah, no, I'm a pretty big fan. I played all the Fire Emblem games, not all of them to completion, but I've played. I love the Game Boy Advance games and stuff like
Alright.
that. So I was with like Brad. I definitely fell off pretty hard on Fates, but
This one
but
seems like I would say like this could be maybe the best Fire Emblem game.
yeah.
But I feel like maybe in battle that's not necessarily true. I feel like everything outside of battle and like the theming and the story and the characters and everything is so great in this game and it's really addictive. But I feel like in battle, even though I'm on hard classic, it still seems kind of mindless and like there's not much map design or level design going on.
I've definitely reached the point where I feel like I'm like a little too powerful for the enemies that I'm fighting for the chapter, because I basically do one of those battle like auxiliary battles every single chapter,
Yeah.
and I'm just like kind of over leveled a little bit, I think maybe.
Do you know what I miss more than anything in this Fire Emblem game that's in all the others is the class up.
Oh yeah,
The class up and all their stats go ding ding ding
Yeah,
ding
yeah,
ding
yeah.
ding ding. And
And
you're like,
there
oh,
is
shit.
that.
Oh, it's like this rush you get because you get all these levels of like these shitty level ups. Fuck you, fuck you,
Yeah.
fuck you. Just over and over again. And when you class up, it's like everyone gets like stat.
so in
huge
previous
stat
previous
bonuses.
Fire Emblem games, you get every time you would transition to a new class,
Yeah.
like the more like advanced
You
classes,
get a screen.
you would get a screen. It would say like class up, and then you'd get a bunch of stat bonuses based on the class that you picked.
Yeah, dope music would play.
Yeah.
You could even do it in battle in some of the Fire Emblems.
Yeah, it
Via
and
crests,
some
and it's,
would
like,
like you
pretty epic
do you
moment.
could do it in battle with crests, and some like you had to
Yeah.
level up to a certain level and then it would progress.
Yeah.
But you do there are some classes that give you stat bonuses, but it's not nearly as satisfying.
I know,
as
but
the-
you don't actually see the stat bonuses now because it's part of I took the exam, and then it's like, you passed. But they don't actually show the stats going up.
Oh right.
And it's like, but that
Well,
part, it's so stupid,
Yeah,
but I
there
miss
is
it.
like a little bonus, like stat boost that does pop up, but it's only like one or two stats versus like what the class. It's because a character can have any number of classes that they pick from.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
showing that
Yeah.
is kind of weird.
Are you and Krispy still playing Fire Emblem? I haven't heard either one of y'all talk about it much since it can't. Are y'all both still playing Fire Emblem? You put it down? What
Well,
about you?
I put it down for a reason, Nick.
Oh, gotcha. I guess we'll talk about that later.
So
What else you got?
I got back, and my wife was had a weekend where I didn't have a wife or responsibilities or anything like that.
Wait,
so,
What's that?
you didn't have a wife or responsibility? Is that what you said? Or a life or responsibility?
wife. My wife was in Virginia. I was in
Okay,
Austin.
gotcha.
And
Okay,
so
I follow.
I'm
now.
sitting at my computer. I'm like, I shouldn't squander this. Like, this is like what I need. And so I opened up my.
I don't know where this is going.
I opened up my Epic Game Store. I masturbated.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's what
I opened up my Epic Game Store and I launched Outer Wilds. And I played this at PAX South, and I was like, okay, this is a really interesting game. I think at PAX South, I booted it up, I went through the tutorial, and then I immediately went straight into the sun.
Yes,
like
as most people do.
unintentionally. I was like, "Ooh, look at these little."
I got pulled into the sun's gravitational pull.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
20 times.
The number of times that I like got black holed out to the outer section, and I was like, well, I don't have enough time to do anything, so I'm just gonna go as fast as I can in the sun. But anyway, my point of the game is I really like the space travel mechanics, like the fact that you can go way too fast towards a planet and then accidentally not be able to slow down fast enough and just go wham right into it.
I killed myself by slamming into a small moon.
Yeah.
Too fast.
Yeah.
Ed, did it change your life like everyone else?
It was pretty crazy.
Damn it.
Wait, have you
See,
finished
I need that weekend where
Yeah.
my wife and Henry go away. That's the only way I'm going to be able to play
You
this game.
decided to have a kid, man.
I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity to play this game.
I'm waiting for this opportunity for my wife to take my small child on
Yes,
a vacation
yes.
without me.
I don't have a situation that is good for me to play.
Brad,
Outer
why don't
Wilds.
you get one of those things where you can put Henry on your chest?
What?
You know, a little
Like
He's
a
a
baby
2-year-old.
Yeah.
yeah, and then but just sit in front of the computer like
You
this.
don't do that
Nick,
with
that's
a
for
2-year-old.
the
He
younger
knocked
ones.
the shit out of me.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how babies
So-
work.
No, you don't. Think a 2-year-old would put up with that?
I
He'd
guess
slit my throat. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
So
Jeez.
the summary of Outer Wilds is that
Wait, did you finish it?
I played it in 2 days, pretty much straight through.
Damn.
Then after I finished Outer Wilds, I booted up Stories Untold
Random, but cool.
because Observation
Oh yeah.
is the game that came out this
I
year from the
forgot.
same
Yeah.
developers.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of see what their first game was. It's like a 2-hour game.
Totally different than
Yeah, totally different. It's a 2-hour game that's broken up into like 4 different episodes.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just typing on the keyboard, and it's like a terminal kind of. So it's kind of cool. And then I played like an hour or two Observation, and it's an interesting.
It goes some interesting places.
Kind of neat little story romp.
Although
there.
I will say, and I finished it, but it's one of those games that I was really intrigued like the entire time I was playing it, and I
Yeah.
finished it, and now I'm trying to remember what happened in it, and I have no clue. I don't remember at all what the big twist was, or
Yeah.
like,
Which, an Observation or
yeah,
Stories Untold?
Observation.
Yeah.
Like it goes. It's one of those like space horror, and it does. I remember some like bits and pieces that were really cool, but like I'm trying to remember like what the impact, what the implications were of the
right.
ending and what happened, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. It didn't stick with me for whatever reason, but it's cool and it's not long, so
No. Also, some people have seen me play on the stream Divinity Original Sin 2 with some friends. Only recommendation I have for that game is don't play with people that have played it before, because they'll just kind of bring you. They know where to go and stuff like that.
Just play it by yourself.
So it's a and I'm going to. I'm gonna like play just by myself.
I picked this
instead.
up a few weeks ago after we had this conversation on the podcast. Still very much looking forward to playing it, but it's driving Jaeger insane because I haven't started it yet.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't care anymore because
I know, he
all
gave
he
up.
does is play Final Fantasy 14.
I know.
Yep.
That is very true.
And then the last thing I played last night, I started up Supraland.
Oh, you were starting it for the
yeah.
first time.
Yeah, yeah.
That game's
And-
cool.
And yeah, it's really cool. Like getting the
It gets better. And
getting
better.
the getting the
Gumby Metroid.
you go from one thing to another, and then something clicks from a new mechanic, like learning how to paint things and stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff is kind of cool because it's very much based in the world.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, oh hey, I got this cool power up that allows me to shoot rockets in the case of like Metroid or whatever. So
I really want
it's
to
kind of a
fucking
cool
try that game.
way of
That is something that's on my list that I feel like I have to get to for the end of
Yeah.
the year because I feel like it's one of those games that we're all going to end up loving.
You ever go into the Final Fantasy 14 Discord channel? You see all these people like, oh my god, this person's still hanging around the community? They're just playing Final Fantasy 14 and they don't do anything else.
how
Yeah,
did you
that's-
transition?
I
to that?
think
We
that
were
might
talking about it, but
I think that might be our most active Discord channel, which
of
is
people I never see anymore.
I'm sorry, Brad. It happens.
MMOs
Cool.
happen.
So you've been playing a lot of shit.
Oh my gosh, it's been
Video games.
Been an
man.
awesome summer.
So many video games. Hey, real quick before we get into like the bigger topics here, we're going to talk.
No,
about,
I got a good transition.
All right, I guess I'll let you have it.
You know, Ed,
Yeah.
last time you were on the podcast, was it last time? You were talking about some really boring looking Final Fantasy Tactics clone.
Oh yeah.
That you were playing on Switch.
That I played like that day and then never went back to.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I heard that's kind of lame.
Mercenary Wings.
Yeah, and it was lame. Well, I have a Final Fantasy Tactics clone for you.
Okay.
And it's good.
And it's good. It's real good. It looks about...
It's got a big dumb name, but it's...
I've been playing Fecal Arbiter's Mark. Yeah, it's kind of a big dumb name.
It's a big dumb name.
But you know what? Don't judge it by its name, and maybe don't judge it by its visuals right off the bat, because it's got kind of an interesting...
Dude, the visuals are like the first thing that caught my eye about it.
No, they are eye-catching, but I could see why they'd be divisive. For sure. Which, it's probably hard to see from this far away anyways, but this is kind of an accurate representation of what it's like playing on the Switch. Because in handheld mode, so this came out on Steam earlier this year, and it finally came out on Switch like a week ago, or a couple weeks ago, and I've been waiting for it to come out on Switch. But they kind of did nothing in terms of like scaling the UI to make it very readable on the Switch in handheld mode, with the exception of like story like conversations. All the UI and all the little numbers and icons and stuff, really they're really tiny. They're really tiny. So I guess if you are going to get it on the Switch, maybe play a lot of it outside of handheld mode, or for a while docked.
Don't play it on Nintendo
until you can kind of know what you're looking at. Because at the very beginning of this game, I was customizing the way my characters looked, like their little sprites, and I was trying to do this at work in handheld mode, and I could not see anything. And I was like picking faces and stuff, and I came home and I docked it, and I looked at my TV, and I'm like, that's what I chose? Like stupid little like look
at that
faces.
Stupid face.
Yeah.
Look at that stupid face.
So this is an indie developed, very faithful Final Fantasy Tactics clones. So it's a grid-based, turn-based strategy RPG, right?
Yes, it looks.
But man, do they really nail the things that make Final Fantasy Tactics in terms of gameplay really like satisfying, addictive, like really, really fucking good. If you know me, you know Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game of all time.
I know that about you.
But I've been playing strategy RPGs, ever since, right? I discovered Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I kind of never looked back. I played so many games in this genre because I love them so much, and a lot of them I really do adore. But I feel like I'm kind of a harsh critic when it comes to the genre, just like I am with Metroidvanias. Post Symphony of the Night. If I'm gonna play one, it needs to be good, right? Because my favorite games are like the best of this genre, right? I still think Final Fantasy Tactics, after all these years, almost 25 plus years, about 20 years, it is still the best in the genre. It really is, and I played a lot of them. And the reason I think it's so good is the sheer amount of the way the class system works, the customization you have, just the builds that you can make with your characters is so addictive and so satisfying. And that's the kind of stuff that Fecal Arbiter's Mark nails.
What a dumb name.
It's a dumb name, but it doesn't matter because the game is sick. I guess looking at let me get into
it can matter. It can have an impact on how a game sells.
The look of it?
No, the name.
Yeah, you're right. Like Full Metal Furies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one bought that game. They all thought it was furries. But
shouldn't that have made it sell better?
Furries.
Yeah, you'd think, right? So also at a glance, looking at the footage, you'll notice that there's a lot more like verticality to the map design, and
people hanging out on rooftops.
Yeah, and one of the strengths of Final Fantasy Tactics versus a lot of the genre. I mean, think Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of games in the genre are like super flat, boring map designs, right? And it's more just about the interactions between like your units and the enemy units, and that's kind of it, right? Obviously there's some positioning stuff, but like Final Fantasy Tactics sort of was all about these like really cool vertical maps, intricate maps with like
and that affected,
lots of
like the power of your attacks, right?
The power, in some cases, like for sure, even the range. at least in Tactics Ogre. But that's very similar type
sure.
game. But then they also introduced like a lot of like movement abilities, right, and stuff like that, and like stage interactions and stuff. And this game has all of that. But I think the real reason that this game is so fucking awesome is the class system. And there's so many cool classes with so many cool abilities. It's all about like customizing and making like awesome fucking loadouts, right? Just like Final Fantasy Tactics, not only do you have your current job class, but you can equip any like skill set of another job class that you've already unlocked.
Yeah.
And you unlock job classes in the same way, right? Where like a level 3 scoundrel and a level 4 knight might unlock what makes sense for that? Like a fucking swordmaster or some shit, right? You're unlocking classes that way, and that's super addictive. But like, you have all the reaction skills, just like Final Fantasy Tactics. You have like all these support skills, and you even have more like support skill slots in this one. So you have a lot of opportunities to like really custom make and tweak and feel like you're breaking the game by making really cool shit. Like one that I've discovered recently is like the Knight class, right? Which is a tanky class. They can protect, they can taunt, and they can guard and defend and all that stuff, right? Just a good tanky class. Their last ability is called All for One. And it's an ability where if you're like standing next to an enemy unit, right? This is sort of how the skill works. Any other, you turn on the skill All for One, right? If any other enemy hits that unit that you're standing next to, you'll also attack it, right?
Oh,
that's cool,
okay.
Right? But this is like a Final Fantasy Tactics and it thinks like Final Fantasy Tactics. And just like Final Fantasy Tactics, you start thinking, well, what if I take that skill and I apply it to another class, right? So then you switch over to Gunner, which uses a gun that can hit almost any range on the map. You activate that ability. Now every single enemy unit that your other teammates are attacking, you're shooting fucking all of them, right?
That's cool.
And now you switch over to Ninja and you get dual wield. Now you're dual wielding guns and shooting every single fucking enemy on the map on your turn. Like, that's the strength of Final Fantasy Tactics. Making cool combos like that by mixing and matching class abilities and just feeling like a god. And this game is nailing that stuff so good, and it's making it so addictive. I put down Fire Emblem, and this is the only game I've been thinking about.
Nice.
And I was loving Fire Emblem, but this is scratching an itch that Fire Emblem has never really scratched for me. I mean, Fire Emblem is good in a lot of other ways, but when it comes to like character customization, like Final Fantasy Tactics is king. And this game is doing it like so fucking.
What
great.
about the other aspects of that you obviously like love Final Fantasy Tactics for, like story and characters?
Okay, hold
and
on,
whatnot?
Story, man. Give me 1 second. This game.
The story shit.
Everything about it sucks.
I mean, I'm still early on. Well, not in terms of like how much like mind space I put into this game, but in terms of the story, I guess I'm not like super far. But it is, competent. It's interesting. I mean, it's not bad. It's not like, like anime bullshit or whatever, right? It's like pretty cool.
Shots.
It's actually pretty similar in some ways. I mean, this is a very, not like Bloodstained, but more. You know how Chasm was very faithful to like the Symphony of the Night formula.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like that with Final Fantasy Tactics in like some pretty obvious ways, right?
Man, Chasm was good.
Chasm is good. One thing I really like, because there are some things that I feel like this game has improved upon or just tweaked in some like really clever ways. I love the item system in this game. So in Final Fantasy Tactics, you get items, they're consumable, you buy them in shops. But in this game, your items like sort of restore at the end of battle. So you can use all of your items because, they're replenishable, right?
It's kind of like the benefit of the magic system in Three Houses, right?
Exactly, right? So you're using them a lot more.
You're not afraid to use the more...
You're using them a lot
more rare items, yeah.
But then with the crafting system, you can make your items more powerful, right? So you're getting consumables from or craftables like from enemies, but also like resources that you're farming from like plants and stuff on maps, and you're using all these resources to like make your items better, to make stronger potions, to make like they have an item that is a rock. Which is, in Final Fantasy Tactics, squires can throw rocks. Now it's an item that you can use as many times, or not as many times as you want, because you have a certain amount. But if you level them up, you have more rocks, and your rocks become stronger. And there's a class that specializes in items, and they turn like an item that you throw on one square into like a 5-square cross. So now you're throwing a leveled up boulder that hits 5 characters at once, and it's like, dude, this is dope. It's really fucking good. I unlocked a class that's a gadgeteer. It has like almost no skills in the skill tree, but he has access to gadgets, which is also a thing that you're able to craft. And those gadgets can be really powerful. Like I have a gadget that puts enemies to sleep in a huge area, and it's fucking sick. I could go on and on about the nitty gritty of why the gameplay is so satisfying, the customization is so great. It's just super addictive. But like the music's good. The visual style at first, I know the character designs people have some issues with, and the animations might be a little clunky, but actually the visual style's growing on me. I like the way the environments look a lot.
I will say this. I looked into it a little bit when I saw you put it on the dock, and when I see this game in motion from a distance, like I watched a YouTube video on my phone, I was like, it looks really beautiful. Like I think this looks like this is a really nice looking visual style for this game. But as soon as I got like up close, like I looked at it, like I watched the same video on like my laptop on like the full screen. I was like, and I started to get really close, and like the art style looked very. God, I don't even know how to describe it.
Neopets.
Yeah.
Neopets.
Yeah.
There you go.
The characters like.
So I think Carlos said Habbo Hotel.
Yeah.
The characters kind of remind me a little bit of the character design from Salt and Sanctuary, like the
which again is not one that people love. So it's
Yeah.
divisive, right? But one of the cool things is like see how the portraits are. The portraits themselves actually kind of remind me of like Baldur's Gate portraits. Like when you're creating a character and you're picking between all these different portraits, and you're like, oh, this one looks cool, and you're just like picking a color or whatever for your character. This has a similar sort of thing, right? So you choose a portrait, and then you can like customize their outfits, their colors, and their hats and stuff. And the cool thing is there's an outfit for each class and like a hat for each class, but you can go into the customization and turn that off, so you can kind of like mix and match and like pick just a cool looking outfit for your character and just leave it as that outfit and match that outfit to the portrait, right? So you can have like almost like in Final Fantasy Tactics you have story characters that don't actually put on the job class outfit, but have like very specific like portraits because they're story characters. You can basically make all your generic units look like story characters in that sense. It's pretty cool. So the customization, I mean, the music, I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game of all time. I think the story is exceptional. I think the game is beautiful. I think the music is like one of the greatest soundtracks of all time, and it has the best gameplay of any game I've ever played, right? It's my favorite game of all time. It really is to me like an ultimate game. This isn't that, it's budgeted in a lot of ways. But in terms of gameplay, this really does shine just as much, I think, as something like Final Fantasy Tactics. So if some of the other things are kind of rubbing you the wrong way, give it a chance if you like something like Final Fantasy Tactics, because it really is exceptional. And I'm playing, there are some difficulty options, and in fact, you can even like tweak options like pretty specifically, but you could choose base level options. Base level difficulties. I'm playing on Veteran, and it's like surprisingly challenging. In a pretty satisfying way for even someone like me who plays these games a lot. The injury system is a little brutal, where like if your character loses all its hit points in battle, you can like bring it back with like a Phoenix Down style thing, but they have an injury, and those injuries can stack, and you can only get rid of them by having them sit out of battle. And that can lead to like maybe grinding like non-story battles, so that's pretty punishing. But otherwise, I mean, dude, I'm fucking loving it.
Got the Brad seal of approval.
The AI seems really good.
Seal, some would say.
Yeah, the Fel seal of approval.
Yeah.
Just maybe one thing you should leave people with is repeat the name.
Fel seal Arbiter's Mark. It's on the Switch. It's on Steam. It may even be on like PS4 and stuff now. Like, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics, just trust me on this one.
If you don't remember the name of this game in an hour after you finish listening to this podcast, check the show notes.
Trust me on this one. It's fucking cool.
Fucking rad. All right, cool. Hey, Krispy.
Yeah.
I know you said you wanted to talk more about you're gonna play more No Man's Sky Beyond before you want to go into depth about it. Is that right?
Yes.
I have one question for you.
Okay.
That hopefully you can answer now. You've played it in VR.
Okay.
How is No Man's Sky in VR? You played a few hours of it, didn't you?
Yeah, I played probably like 4 or 5 hours.
All in VR?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good sign.
You know what? It's really cool.
Fuck. I was afraid you were gonna say.
There are some drawbacks.
The
resolution in the VR headset, if you're playing on PSVR, is not great.
Hey, I played all the way through. What was that game with the dinosaurs? Robinson.
Arc.
No, Robinson the Journey.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever?
that didn't have an
Yeah.
out of VR comparison.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, so it's a
You have
little.
to drop the resolution quite a bit.
It's a
to
little
go to
choppy
VR.
and it's a little grainy when you're not so much choppy, but it is a little grainy when you're in the headset.
But you feel immersed.
It can make reading text a little more difficult. But yeah, the feeling of it is really
Hey, man, like,
cool.
The same thing you're talking about, kind of the trade-offs that you make for playing. You have the HD comparison, the non-VR comparison. Like, the trade-offs you're making are very equivalent to, like, I played Resident Evil 7 in VR. There is a an HD non-VR comparison to make there, and I played the entirety of that game in VR, and I was still, like, super satisfied with that experience. So, like, No Man's Sky in VR.
He had played a bunch of No Man's Sky out of VR.
That is true. I didn't.
So it's like a downgrade.
I kind of jumped straight into. I mean, it depends. how
Well,
you look
okay.
at it, I
So
guess.
I mean, it's not what the VR does for you in terms of like immersiveness and like giving you that feeling of manipulating things is way cool, and I say it totally balances out any of the problems they've had. Now, a couple things I'll mention is that when I was playing VR, that was like 3 or 4 patches ago. I haven't actually tried it today, and they launched last week, right? With 2.03, and today they were pushing 2.09. So they've been pushing patches like on a daily basis almost, to try to like handle a lot of performance issues that it's been having. I did have it crash on me a couple times in the first day too.
Yeah.
The game does seem to be running a little smoother today, but I was only playing like regular, not VR today. And I also am on the PS4,
Oh, right.
the base. I don't think that really affects it at all, but it might.
Yeah. Something to consider, at least.
But I will say, the VR was implemented like the actual redesign that they put in to make VR possible in this game is really well done and is really smart.
See, that's like going into this, like when they first said they're going to do VR for this game, I was like, that sounds almost too good to be true. Like, how are you, like, because of just the scope of the, like, that's bananas.
It's pretty crazy, only because like they had to make a lot of changes to how things worked in VR. For example, everything had to be scaled up. Like the ships and everything are just bigger now.
Yeah.
Just because they had to be, because of like the perspective scale of like you getting into the ship, right? They've redone every ship cockpit as well to make them much more detailed than they were before. Before it was just kind of like you had a couple screens and like a pretty like flat console. They've gone back in and they've expanded the cockpit so you can see like all the way around the cockpit now. They've added a lot more detail work. It all looks fancier. Like it has more, like there's like hoses and like little knobs.
I love hoses.
You can see your seat, and they've also added in the controls, so you can see the controls. Ooh. So when you're playing in VR, which I was playing like the full setup with like the 2 motion controllers.
Yeah.
So the motion controllers are your hands, right? And you just move them around and interact with stuff. The ship controls, like as much as possible, including ship controls, have been put into like VR motion contextual controls. So you're not like necessarily just like holding the trigger to launch the ship and accelerate it anymore. Now you literally grab a throttle, push it forward, and you grab the stick with the other hand and like move the stick like this to fly. It takes a little fine tuning and a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's like fucking beautiful.
Hey, I said the same thing about Outer Wilds. It takes a while to get used to flying the ship and that thing too, but when you grab onto the stick, and you don't even have to hold the trigger, it's just kind of like a toggle thing. I think I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. You're just holding your stick like, vertically like that, so it translates into a joystick very naturally. Yeah. You get that like, pull back to go up, push forward to go down kind of feel to it, and it gets to be very very fluid. I've been kind of adopting a like set it and forget it approach, so like I'll set the throttle, I'll kind of angle my ship where I want it to go, and then I'll take my hands off the control, because you can operate like the throttle and the jump drive without touching the controls.
So that stuff is really fucking cool. They even made it so that like they put handles on the side of the canopy now. So when you land and want to get out of your ship, you just grab the handles and pull up.
What?
Yeah, and and then just like loads you outside the ship. Most of your interactions now are done with like triggers. So like you'll aim at something, it'll put up an icon, and you pull the trigger, and it puts like an arc between you and the item, and you just move the controller. Like you pull back on the controller, and that like fills up a
so
you get
that like feedback of like pulling stuff.
Right. So you're just like you're using your motion controls to interact with everything like that.
It's like you're fishing for resources.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean it's just like a little flick. You'll just like like that to touch something. Like your scanner and your multi-tool, they are now like mounted on your back, and you have like a contextual button where like you literally have to like hold the controller up by your head and click a button, and they'll like put the scanner up, or to pull your multi-tool out from like where it's stowed on your backpack, you like push a button up by the right side of your head, and it equips your multi-tool to that hand. It's really cool.
It seems like they put a lot of work into it.
They did.
Like that sounds like a completely different game than the last time I played No Man's Sky.
But like if you load it in normal mode, it's the way it was.
You can't. Not even the details there.
No, the details all there.
Oh, okay.
The new stuff that they added is all still there because it all has to exist
Yeah.
simultaneously.
You just lack those contextual controls.
But it's just you're just controlling it the way it was before, which worked perfectly well. You know? So you can jump back and forth on the same save file. It's not like a separate save file to do VR mode or anything like that. So it's literally just like
when I feel like playing VR.
Yeah, like I wanted to play some today, but I didn't want to like mess with moving my equipment around and setting up the headset, so I just like played normal mode and continued my quest.
Dude, that's
from there.
That's fucking awesome.
So I have friends at work that are playing this game.
Yeah.
Am I playing this game now? Is that what you're saying to me?
Do you have a VR headset?
I have a PSVR.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the VR stuff alone, I would recommend checking it out. I mean, It is pretty fun to just like get in your ship, like do all the stuff, fly around, like jetting, landing on planets and stuff, but doing it like in first person in VR, like
I feel like we haven't yet had our
like the first time I hit my jetpack.
We haven't had our defining VR experience for this year. I
was
feel
like trying to figure out how to move around, and like the first time I hit my jetpack button and I just started like flying, I was like, oh, like I could feel like
oh shit, I didn't even
like dropping out.
I didn't even think about using the jetpack in VR.
Well,
oh
see,
shit.
like movement, the way movement works is a little weird because that's the one that takes the most getting used to, because you don't have like they don't let you just like move the camera like use a stick to walk around.
Yeah.
What it is like you hold a button, like the left trigger I think it is, and it puts out an arc with like a pair of feet, and you move around in that like arc. You just like scroll it around,
weird.
and then wherever you leave it and let go, that's where you show up.
Yeah.
And you move the right stick to like rotate which position you're facing, and
Weird.
then it does like a really quick like black fade and back, and you're back in. They've changed anything in the game that like moves you, like takes camera control away from you. So like for instance, if you're in VR mode and you land your ship at like a space station or at a spaceport on a planet or something, they used to have a thing where like you'd land on the pad and it would rotate the ship around.
Yeah.
And then you could get out of it. They turned that off for VR because they don't want to like wrest control of the camera away from you while you're like wearing a VR headset and make you sick or something.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
So it's so like camera controls and everything are a little bit more restrained. You can like snap to like 45-degree angles.
But but you can play it without those snaps, can't you?
If you're playing if you're using the controller, it's still gonna act like that in VR. It's gonna be all like everything's gonna be
gotcha.
Like it's.
But if you play with the motion controls, it's fluid, like fluid movement.
It's still the same. Like you're hitting like X and square to like turn the do the snap turns on the camera. But like I said, you can do like if you're doing the actual like placement icon of like I'm gonna stand here and rotate your right hand around and turn where you're going. That's actually a pretty intuitive way of just like turning the camera really quickly. And again, that takes a little bit. Like it probably took me like a good 10-20 minutes before I felt really comfortable with everything. But once I did, it was great. The only other new thing I've really experienced so far that is completely different is the anomaly. They've like completely changed that. It used to just be this like space that had a couple NPCs that you would talk to and they'd give you quests and stuff. They've completely overhauled it into
you might want to reseat your microphone. We're gonna get a new cable for this microphone because I think it's just about dead.
Yeah.
There we go. Continue.
So the anomaly now has that kind of like it's a much larger interior, and it's kind of like a social space, like the tower in Destiny.
Yeah.
So when you go there and land, there's like different shops and stuff, and there's people everywhere. There's just like players walking around.
Yeah.
You land your ship in a big like parking spot that has like 11 other player ships around it, and everyone just kind of walking around picking up quests and things like that. So that's kind of cool. You do feel like they've added NPCs into different areas, so now it's not like when you go to space stations, if you want to interact with a spaceship, you're not just like clicking on the spaceship. There's now like an NPC next to it who's like moving around and doing stuff. So and people kind of like walk around more, so it feels a little more alive and a lot less like lonely.
Yeah, the last time I played No Man's Sky, there was no NPCs weren't even a thing. So it's going to be a little bit of a different experience when I finally get back to it. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It sounds pretty
As
fucking
for like
cool.
a lot of the new like a lot of the story content that they've added in, I still haven't gotten like super far with that. Base building I've only kind of just started doing.
I've seen some like
there's some crazy stuff. I started getting a bunch of blueprints today and stuff that I'd never seen before in the game. Like a lot of crazy things. Like I've already got some blueprints for doing like underwater stuff. Like there's a whole section of the build map that's just like the build map from Subnautica.
That's
like it's crazy.
That's bananas. Dude, there's like I've seen tweets and stuff of people posting their bases that they've done in this game. Yeah. Someone made what looked like the fucking like the strip. Like the Las Vegas strip on a planet. I was like, what the fuck?
That's cool.
It's crazy.
There's some crazy ones.
You know, I feel like I was ragging on Krispy a little bit on a stream randomly. But not you. It's more just the zeitgeist surrounding No Man's Sky, where I guess with each of these updates, and even maybe the original release, there's like this burst of excitement.
And then it peters out.
And then it falls off a cliff, I feel like. What is up with the game No Man's Sky?
I don't know if it's ever like actually lost its
I
don't know if it's ever lost its audience. I just feel like so much of
I mean it's almost like a fucking MMO update or something, where everyone like jumps back in and is like real excited and talking about it and posting about it, and then like a couple weeks later it's just like you don't hear about it at all. What is up with that?
I don't know.
Or do you have an opinion on that? Because I was like, what I was saying is like there's a No Man's Sky update, so Crispy's going to be like, I know he's going to be like really high on this, right? And of course you are. I mean, you like No Man's Sky, but
I mean, No Man's Sky is very much like a long form, kind of like lifestyle game. In a lot of respects,
it's a lifestyle game that people don't play like a lifestyle game. I feel like.
Well, I just think that the core audience, which exists, which I mean, I follow like Hello Games and Sean Murray and a couple No Man's Sky accounts on Twitter, and I mean, there's activity. Like people are doing stuff. It's just not like I just don't think the core audience for this game is that big. I think a lot of people come back in these surges to like. See what's up.
It feels wide.
But none of those people were ever even gonna stay at all anyway.
Also, I don't know if this
like, I just think you just don't follow people that would play.
I think that's possible, but I also feel like there's
accounts
there's part of it. There's part of this experience that is kind of like, so the game came out, it had a rocky start.
Yeah.
And they started promising things, right? And they keep talking about like all these crazy things they want to do, and like they tend to announce these things ahead of time so people kind of know what to expect. So I think there's a large subset of people who are just kind of like, well, I'll just wait until that cool thing hits before I get serious about playing it. Because like I know they're doing VR, but that's not coming out for like 6 months. So I'm just gonna like wait. And I feel like some people have just been waiting. I almost feel like me. Like I'm an example of this group.
Like
people have just been waiting
afterwards.
But people have been like waiting for like when's the final update?
Obviously, you're not saying that like nobody's playing the game.
No,
there are people playing.
They're just playing it quietly.
But like
I'm just
it
saying,
seems like with that last update, like fucking everyone was talking about it. Like, fucking Nolan got back into it. Like, people were buying physical copies. Like, oh, I'm gonna get beat. What was that last one called? It's really Next. Like, fucking Next, dude. Like, I'm putting down everything to play No Man's Sky next, man. They did it. The game is done.
To be fair,
and then like 2 weeks later, like,
but to be fair, like,
what did like Red Dead come out or something? Like, what the fuck happened?
Think about it though, like. We talk about games a lot, so maybe it's less obvious to us.
I'm not just talking about the people in this room.
That's kind of like the life cycle of most games. Most games are hot for like a week, 2 weeks.
But No Man's Sky is,
and then
a lifestyle game, right? You know,
I just think a lot of people may have been waiting for that.
People haven't stopped talking about Final Fantasy.
I just don't know that I entirely agree with your premise, but
is the like minute-to-minute gameplay of No Man's Sky like not something that keeps people like in it?
Well, see, I'm wondering if it is something about the game that is causing that. But I mean, you're obviously disagreeing. But even let's talk about you. Like, why is it not something like you're not like returning to like throughout the year? Like, oh, I'm playing a little more No Man's Sky, or maybe you are and you're just not talking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's boring.
That's not what I want you to say. What I'm wondering if.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, it just comes out at times where, like, I'll play it for, so the file that I picked up when I started playing when Beyond came out was the file that I started, a new file that I started when Next came out, and I had, 12 hours on it. So it was, 12 hours I played that game when Next came out. And then I just stopped. And I don't know. I just don't play video games that much.
Well,
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, it's just like,
I'm saying
I think after Next came out,
all I'm saying is it didn't seem like something that was like exclusive to you. It seems like that's sort of the MO with like a lot of people playing this game.
Because I think a large portion of the game is just like doing really small fiddly things. It's like building a base and spending a lot of time farming materials to build that base and coming up with new ideas for bases to build and just fucking around.
And it's not necessarily a game.
I don't know that it's necessarily like a very gifable game. You know what I'm saying?
And it's also like the kind of thing where as time has gone by, it's become less and less of this thing where it's kind of like you're striving to get to an end of it. It's
like progression. There's not a lot of progression in it.
I mean, there's progression, but like it's also the kind of thing where it's like, what's more important, getting to the center of the universe or just exploring and finding planets and building bases?
Right.
I'm just saying, like, this game sold like millions and millions, right?
Yeah, I mean, this game, despite how great it's doing now, and you can go online and find a bunch of people like extolling the virtues of No Man's Sky Beyond and like, oh, they did a great turnout. This game is never going to get over its launch.
Yeah, that's true.
People stigmatize this game so fucking hard.
Well, I'm not talking about perception. I'm talking about, is there something at the core of the way this game was designed that can't be changed? That is the reason why these updates seem... You know what? I don't even really mean to harp on this, really. I'm going to talk about Ion Fury.
He shifted gears.
You can't even stick with a conversation about the game, let alone the game.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm agreeing with you.
I just mean if they made a No Man's Sky 2, could they make it in such a way?
Oh my God, both of you.
I don't fucking know. I get what you're saying, and I get what the implication of it is, and yeah, the game maybe there's something about it that is they've made it mechanically really cool, but it's just kind of thin everywhere else.
Am I saying? Maybe I'm saying maybe they should make a new game now, and stop iterating on this thing.
Maybe
that sold a lot initially, has a lot of hype with each update, but that hype lasts about 2 weeks.
You should play
the thing. They're releasing a new physical edition.
I know.
They're doing a No Man's Sky Beyond physical edition.
I might get it.
Let's see what happens when that comes out.
I might get it.
I'm more referring to Nick, not you, as the kind of player that I think most No Man's Sky people are, and I'm talking about the millions that bought it.
That's me. I mean, It's not a perfect
Like he's
game,
so
man.
it gets him so excited, but
like I just feel like this is coming from a place of like me sitting here saying it's great, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and you going, yeah, but I don't believe you.
No, I'm
Like-
not. The thing is, I do believe you. I believe everyone, and that's what's so shocking when 2 weeks later no one's talking about it. It sounds great, but the reason I haven't actually hopped back in is because it's not.
I just
like
I don't think
like
that
so
is
like.
as
I feel like with something like Subnautica, people were talking about it all year long. You know what I mean? And again,
no.
huh?
I mean, you
Like,
were
have you
talking about it all year long.
Well, no, I feel like people are saying, have you tried Subnautica? You gotta try Subnautica. Like, people were picking it up and, like, discovering it and, like, playing it, and, like, that was happening all year.
I don't know. Let's wait and see.
And this was a game that didn't sell 7
Let's
million
check the
copies
temperature
at
in 2
launch or
weeks when
whatever.
Beyond has been out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure, I guess. Or we'll just forget to talk about it, because everyone did.
Now it's my mission in life to revisit this game and bring it back up
man.
over and over again. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to move on. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Iron Fury and some stuff from Gamescom.
Iron Fury?
Did I say Iron Fury?
Just call it Ion Maiden.
That's
what it's supposed to be called.
Yeah, fuck it. Iron Maiden. We're going to talk about that game, which is no longer called that. But and then we'll talk about some Gamescom stuff and answer some questions from supporters on Patreon. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Comic books!
Close enough.
You know what? That's close enough to a welcome back as we're going to get. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We have one more game to talk about, and then we're going to cover all this Gamescom news. So, Brad,
Crispy mic check!
Jack.
I think it works good. All right, Brad, why don't you tell us about
One more game.
Iron Maiden,
Ion Maiden.
and also
Renamed to Ion
This is the
Fury
game that-
because Iron Maiden is stupid.
yes, this is the game that Chris Davis said he was going to chime in on too, right? So you can go ahead and unmute his microphone.
Yeah.
Your mic's
but
now hot.
Let me set this shit up. Hey, someone made a new Build Engine game. Build Engine, you know them. There's games from the 90s, first-person
that engine's
shooters.
called?
The most famous one is Duke Nukem 3D. That's a really great game. Honestly, probably one of the best shooters of all time. Also, like Shadow Warrior, also Blood. So yeah, Build Engine games. This is a new one. It's actually made in the Build Engine. So it's one of those. It's called Iron Maiden.
This is a great setup, Brad.
And
Wait, what was this built in?
the Build Engine.
What was it called again?
So it's one
What's
of
wrong
those.
with your
It's a
hands?
lot like Duke Nukem 3D. In fact, this character is even sort of tangentially related to Duke Nukem in several ways.
You know what? I want to say
And she has quips like Duke Nukem kind of.
I really like.
She does like movie references and stuff like Duke Nukem did.
So there was a game that came out a couple years ago called Bombshell
Yeah,
from
that's
3D
like,
Realms.
like that.
This is that same character, and it's basically it's
Oh.
basically a tie-in to Duke Nukem.
Yeah, you know what's really annoying? This game's Twitter account is still called Bombshell Game.
That's hilarious.
God.
Wait,
They-
didn't
they-
Gearbox make that?
So
game?
they renamed
No.
like
Oh.
the name on the Twitter account, but the actual handle's still
Yeah, it's still
Game. That's
Bombshell
funny.
Game. So when people like, are trying to like tag them in tweets like, oh, Bombshell Game is out. And it's like, wait a minute. No, it's not. It's Ion Fury, but they're just adding them. So, yeah.
You know what? I like the way this game. I like.
It looks like Duke Nukem 3D.
I know, but like it's like this like classic like look, but like
It's not
it's
a classic
crisper,
look. It's
it's
literally
smoother. I don't
in
know,
the
I
same
like it.
engine.
I know, but I like it. It looks good.
It is not just a classic look. It is the classic.
It looks cleaner than like.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's remastered. But you know what? Those Build Engine games also got remastered. So there was a Duke 3D remaster. There was a Blood remaster. There was a Shadow Warrior remaster. And you know what? This looks a lot like those.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little glitzier, right?
Yeah.
Sure. But, it plays a lot like those games. It looks a lot like those games. And it's good in a lot
My
of the
God, it
same
might be
ways
one of those games.
that those games are good, right? Because I think the core of what made this game, the Duke 3D, really great was a lot of the cool things that engine did. The level design in Duke 3D is really good. It's very vertical. There's a lot of like secrets, breakable walls and stuff. And this game
There's a ton of that in here.
has a lot of that as well. Although I've been struggling to find some of the secrets. In Duke 3D, a lot of the secrets were tied to like cracks in walls that would lead you down all these cool paths and shortcuts and stuff. I've been having a hard time to like find them here.
Yeah.
I feel like any old school shooter, you got to sort of like learn the language of how to interact with the world and secrets, especially like, hey, this is a grate. You can usually shoot those out and find a secret path. But here, you don't really shoot the grates.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
maybe
mean, there are greats you can shoot, but I think one of the
are
things you
there
have to
though?
Yeah.
I feel like I've not learned the language of the secrets in this game, and that's
the
why I've not been
secrets-
finding them.
The language of them for me has been like paying attention to like switches in the environment, because there's a lot of interactive stuff in the environment, especially for a build engine game.
Hell, he's
Well,
pushing
that
around.
is one of the famous aspects of the build engine.
Yeah,
is
but like
around
more
these
than
interactivity. Yeah, like give me an example. Maybe find a secret for me in this level that I'm on right now.
All right.
But that's
We're gonna
another
watch
problem
it
with this game, is that they don't do a good job of telegraphing like what is a secret room, kind of. Like there's a pop-up that'll show up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that says, Dick's secret stash found. Every time you find
Don't
a
they
secret,
play like a
but
sound
it's
effect or something?
It's only there for like a couple seconds and you don't realize it until it's like over.
So like like a build engine secret would be like I go up to that cash register and like interact with it, and maybe like a hidden wall would open, but like it's not happening. So it's like I feel like I could play Duke 3D, like say a level that I've never played before, which maybe that exists. And I'd be able to like find secrets like pretty easily. Here, I'm just not finding them. But I don't know. Maybe this is a weird thing to focus on.
Maybe you just
I
suck.
couldn't figure out how to get in here.
But these old school shooters, like finding those secrets, are like what makes like old school shooters kind of fucking awesome, right?
Wait.
It's sort of a lost art, honestly.
So real quick,
I couldn't figure out how to get behind there either. I'm
Scarecrow-
like, what am I missing?
Scarecrow in chat mentions this game has mark and execute. Is that true?
Mark and okay. So one of the weapons, the
pistol
revolver style weapon, I actually want to talk about it because it's the thing I probably use most. It just seems like really overpowered, and I think there's actually maybe like a weapon power balance issue in this game a little bit, if I don't mind. The pistol, like every weapon has like an all fire, but the all fire on the revolver is you can like tag enemies and you let go and it just like shoots them, right? So
Yeah.
you're
Mark and execute.
so you're just kind of like swiping over enemies instead of like having to aim and shoot, right?
Yeah.
Which helps a lot with like the little head crab style enemies that are in all the levels, occasionally here and there, and it's even some of the harder enemies. You can just sort of like headshot them almost pretty easily, right? Just as you're like running from cover to cover, you can like tag them and then shoot them, which is cool, but it seems almost like overpowered. Like I have a shotgun, right? And like it's pretty strong, but I have to like fucking aim the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna use the revolver, and that seems a little weird in terms of like weapon balance for this type of game. Also, like you run out of ammo pretty quick on some of the more powerful weapons, so I found myself like sort of just sticking to that revolver.
Yeah, you really have to switch between weapons a lot. I've kind of
Well, I mean, like you have the machine guns that like set enemies on fire, right? They're really powerful, but I just sort of like save them for harder enemies or bosses or whatever, right? So I'm not even really using those that often. It's interesting.
yeah, but like bosses are at the end of zones, and that's like these levels are super long.
They're long. It's true, but I will say I love Duke Nukem 3D. One of the highlights of that game, though, is like really cool, unique weapons. Maybe I'm not that far in this game. I mean, I'm not. I'm only a few levels in, and but these levels are really long. Duke Nukem 3D has like some cool like freeze rays, shrink rays, like cool pipe bombs,
Out
and
there
stuff.
shit.
Like out there stuff that's just sort of fun to use. In this game, that stuff seems a little standard. I mean, the weapons seem a little standard, not that crazy.
I mean, your pistol right here, it mentions the mark and execute. It fires like 3 rounds for every one shot you pull. So
Sure, but
it's like 18 rounds. In
It doesn't seem
there.
that fun or exciting.
Yeah.
In the same
there's
way.
There's the bowling bomb
It's
right there.
lacking some inspiration.
The
I guess.
name Bowling Bomb sounds more fun than it is to use this, which is a grenade that
Yeah.
you could also cook.
Well,
But that's pretty much
no.
it.
The thing about it, no, it's more than that. you actually throw it at an enemy and it'll track it like a seeker mine from Division. So it'll actually go drive up to the enemy.
I actually don't use them that often.
Did he just work the Division into this conversation?
Yes, it did.
Damn you. So like
That's impressive.
And right here, you're dual you're dual wielding these.
what does the all fire on these do?
That pulls up the second one.
Okay, so
So you can disequip
the
the
alt fire pulls up a second gun.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the weapons don't seem as like fun as they do in like Duke 3D, which again, this game
maybe
is
the more
definitely trying to
interesting
emulate.
maybe the more interesting game or guns will reveal themselves later on. It looks fun though.
Maybe no, it is. It's fun. It's good. Like, here's the thing: build engine games are rad. These shooters from this era are rad. This is one of those, but it's kind of like a situation where I was talking with Ed over here during the break, and I was like, "Dude, Fail Still, just get it. It's awesome." And then I sort of found out that he's not played Final Fantasy Tactics, and this is a situation where it's like, well, just play that. Fail Still is like an emulation of that, and it's a really good one, but also Final Fantasy Tactics is like the greatest. So like here's the thing, right? I mentioned 3 build engine games that all got remastered.
Yeah.
In the past half decade, right? So you have Duke 3D, you have Shadow Warrior, and you have Blood, right? If you have not played those games, get those. If you've played those and you have fond memories of those, get this one, right?
Makes sense.
But
Fair.
it's running in the same engine. There's nothing. I mean, if you can play this game, you can play those games, and those games are kind of like classic. They're iconic, and like I've been talking about in comparison to like Duke 3D, in a lot of ways they're still better. But I am having a ton of fun with this because I do have lost nostalgia for those games. But
one of the kind of interesting things about this game is that it's I would say it's a little bit more friendly to like modern players compared to like how Build Engine was back in the day. There is on by default in this game, and you may have noticed this while you're playing, an aim assist going on for your mouse and keyboard. So
mouse and keyboard.
So you got your targeting reticle here, but there is like a invisible circle around that reticle for a certain range that will auto aim
I feel like all
your
build
bullets.
engine games do that though.
Are you saying the bullets
some extent.
move, or like it'll when you pull the trigger, it draws the crosshair into the, or draws?
No, it doesn't draw the crosshair.
move
It
It's
aims
sort of
for
like
itself.
Well, it's just sort of like a wider maybe hitbox than you'd expect. Maybe.
No, it's not. It's not hitboxes. It's literally like you shoot an enemy in the distance with your pistol, for example, and it will try to like not only aim upwards more towards the enemy's head, but it will also take into account like travel time of the bullet. So like it's aiming in advance of where the enemy's going to be.
So you'll actually see the position of the gun change when you pull the trigger?
Yes.
Does it?
It does.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, was there not a little bit of that in like the older games too?
No, that was just like pure like line of sight fire.
It's probably something they've tweaked to make it more
I mean, there was
accessible.
definitely an option in the menu for that. I wonder what. I mean, I think I have it on. But.
Yeah, go back and check it. It's actually really kind of interesting.
Scarecrow in chat says he hopes I'm thinking about Dusk right now.
So
Dusk is pretty
Dusk is one of those games that I think like it's honestly as good or better. I mean, Dusk is not an example of a game of like, hey, just go back and play the old one. Dusk, I think, is as good or better than some of the old shooters from the 90s.
Yeah, it's an independent experience.
There's been sort of like a recent, revival, right? Between Dusk, between a Medieval, which I talked about,
Yeah.
a couple months ago, and between this, like, I think Dusk is like the standout one, and the one that if you have a hankering to play one of those, that's the one you should play.
I do own that, and I do have a hankering to play one of these. What?
But this is really fun.
Crispy just had a thought, and then he stopped himself.
This is really fun. So, like, I would say I'm having more fun with this than maybe a Medieval, but not nearly as much fun as, like, Dusk. But I love build engine level design, and this has got it. It's really cool.
All right.
Should we mention that this game got milkshake?
We should. It did get milkshake ducked.
All right. Sorry.
That's
I feel
kind of
dumb.
rolls us right in the news.
Yeah, right. It does transition. We can bring this up. I didn't make it an overlay for it, but we can definitely bring it up in the news.
Also, just one last thing I want to throw in about this game.
Crispy's mic.
It's only 86 megs. This entire game.
It's a build engine game.
Still,
It's so
that's kind
tiny.
of amazing for a game you're playing in 1440p. In 2019, that's insane.
Yeah, but these textures aren't exactly like.
No,
crazy.
but
They're not
hey,
crazy big.
I mean,
Can I ask for just? This is gonna be me being ignorant here. What exactly does milkshake duck mean?
Okay, so it's a meme
Okay.
about, like,
When something
I know what the
really
news story
famous.
is. I just don't know what the reference
Oh,
is.
it came.
It was a
from
tweet, yeah.
A tweet.
Where someone's like, "Oh, have y'all seen this
Milkshake
gif of this
drinking duck?
milkshake duck? I love it." And then like
The next day,
is like, "Oh, he's racist."
we're sorry to inform you, the milkshake duck is racist.
Yeah.
All right, that's hilarious.
So it's
Okay.
like discovering something that you're like really into, and then finding out.
So they made
more
so this
shit.
game includes
Like-
some transphobic content
No,
or
no,
what?
Well,
It's
it
the
did,
dev
but they patched
team.
it out. It did. There was some, and they patched it out.
Okay,
There
so
was-
but I think the real controversy came
But yeah.
from
the dev team was saying some shit
in Discord. Like the dev team in Discord was kind of like saying some shit.
This is not like a Cyberpunk 2077 situation, right?
I mean, not
pretty similar.
Because they kind of stood by their stuck to their guns. This team straight up removed something from the game and issued an apology and made a donation to a charity that benefits trans causes.
They made a donation to the Trevor Project.
Yeah.
like a $10K donation,
$10,000.
Yeah.
which it's great. That's great, right?
Yeah.
But like, it
Gotta
doesn't.
take responsibility
like,
for your shit.
Their like obnoxious behavior in Discord was not like old or
Yeah.
anything. I mean, I don't. Whatever. It's good that they apologize, and it's
But we
good,
can't-
It's
we
good
can't
that they
ju-
made this donation, but they were being
Let's not forget what they did.
dumbasses. But
Yeah.
I mean, this studio is like formed by, a group of like former modders of like build engine games.
Yeah.
It's not a big studio like like BioWare, so maybe it's not surprising that some shit like this happened, but at least they're trying, I guess, to right their wrongs. So
Let's acknowledge
nice.
the game is good. Make sure we don't forget what the fuck they did, and just be happy that they did something. I guess issued an
just
apology.
don't-
It's still fucked up. Don't do that shit.
Whatever helps
Don't
you
do that
sleep
shit.
at night, Nick.
It doesn't. Yes, thank you. All right, let's move on to the news that we actually have overlays for. So I'm just gonna let Chris Davis hit us with random news topics. So Gamescom this week, so quite a few of these are gonna have be related to Gamescom. And it's actually some of these aren't really exactly news topics; they're more of just discussing some things that were released this week related to Gamescom stuff. But Chris Davis, hit me. I'm just saving time here. Okay, they finally released the Avengers footage. Did anybody
that
watch
footage
this?
has been trickling out. I watched it.
Okay, can I just say? This might be a short conversation. As someone who went to E3, tried my fucking hardest to get in to see that demo, didn't have any luck, and then saw this like leaked footage and everyone talking about this shit and just being wholly confused about what this game even is. They released the footage, like HD footage. I started watching it and I turned it off before I finished it.
Because it looked like shit.
The game does not look very good or exciting.
I mean,
And there's some articles that came out today regarding like what this game actually is in terms of like what to expect from it, like its structure and format. And it says like there's some things that were just kind of alarming to me, like they've discussed. This game has been largely described as kind of like a combination between Insomniac Spider-Man and Destiny. That was one of the things that I noticed today, and I read more into what they're referring to on that, and they talk about like, so the thing that turned me off the most about watching this gameplay footage was how fucking linear it was and whatnot. And apparently that is kind of indicative of like when you're doing main story quests, like it's going to be kind of split between doing main story quests that drive a central narrative along and doing these like more open multiplayer centric Destiny kind of like raids and stuff, right?
Honestly, that kind of sounds bad too, though.
But like when you're doing the main story stuff, like they said, this is kind of indicative of what it is. Like
this looked bad.
More linear, singularly focused on one character at a time.
Uncharted is linear. This looked like a fucking comic book game pre-Spider-Man 2.
Yes, it looked like
Like people
Punch
say,
some dudes.
someone in chat says the
Like,
Hulk looks fun.
quick
The Hulk
time.
was fun in Hulk Ultimate Destruction, and you had a fucking open world, and you were doing cool, dynamic things in that world. This is like a quick time event.
it does not inspire a lot of confidence. And there's been talk about this ever since E3 from people who saw the demo at that point, and I think at this point everyone was just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know what I mean? Everyone waiting for them to be like, okay, but this is what it really is. And now it's just
But,
kinda,
like,
all I feel like now is just like even more.
Let's hope and pray that this is so linear. Maybe literally because it's on a very long bridge.
The demo does take
But,
place
like,
on a very long bridge. Yes.
There's a point when you're flying around with Iron Man. Can he fly to the right? Can he fly away from the bridge? And like,
I don't think
so. There's no way, right? So like,
you can fly in a straight line.
that's
Across the
so
bridge.
lame. That's so. Iron Man 2 on the PS2/360. Did it come out on 360?
Yes. Oh, I think they
It's
came out on every
probably
platform.
more open than this. What is that? That seems so dated. I can't even remember. It's not even dated. There was a small, very small period of time. Games before it were cooler, and games after it were cooler. And there was a very small time that games were like this, and this isn't there. Like, they literally picked one small gap in the history of video games and decided to make this game like that.
It's like
and
it's
the
like
worst.
It's like the team that made Iron Fury. It was like, we're gonna make a game that's like Duke Nukem, but
Yeah.
like we're gonna make a game that's like Spider-Man.
No, what it is it's like before the cool shooters of the 90s, or after the cool shooters of the 90s, and before Halo, and like there's something in between like Duke 3D and like Quake and stuff, but like before Halo, before Half-Life,
Like Serious Sam?
there's like 6 months where shooters sucked.
That Starship Troopers shooter game.
6 months. There's like a very small 6-month window where
This
shooters
is
just suck.
reminding me of something that
Alien versus
I've chosen
Predator.
to forget about, and it's not good. It's not even like a comic book game. Like, I remember comic book games being good. This is like a kid's a game based on like a DreamWorks Pictures movie, right? Like, what is this shit? This
Okay.
is like a Shrek game.
Okay. so the sad thing is
Run
like
forward and punch things.
they have talked about this like what they've shown as being a tutorial. First of all, why would you show the tutorial mission? And they keep saying things after the tutorial. The game opens up quite a bit. Like the levels will be much more open.
So show that.
Like fucking
yeah,
show
fucking
that shit.
show that.
Like what the fuck? Don't show us this and then just give us your word that it's going to be more open.
And
They could-
show us this at E3, and then also show the same thing at Gamescom.
They
Like,
could just be lying.
They could
Yeah,
also
yeah.
be lying, or like trying desperately to like figure out how they can tweak the game or alter it between now and launch to like react or respond to these complaints.
I had an X-Men game on my Game Gear, and
still trying to figure this out.
and when you picked Wolverine and you could choose characters, you picked Wolverine. He didn't even have his claws. You had to like turn on his claws, and I think punching with your claws would drain your health or something. And it's like, this sucks, right? Right? Because you can't have his claws
That sounds shitty.
all of the time. I want his claws all the time, but you can't. That seems more exciting than this.
All right.
I'd rather go back and play that.
I would rather talk about reactions to another game. Let's talk about Death Stranding for a second.
Am I being too harsh? What did you think, Ed, about
No,
the
I thought it
Avengers
looked bad,
footage?
too.
Okay. Crispy, you didn't watch it?
Death Stranding?
No, I'm saying Avengers.
The
Avengers.
Avengers thing. Yeah, I did the same thing Nick did. I like spooled through like 5 minutes of it and was like, meh.
Yeah, I got through about.
I was thinking, we live in a post Arkham Asylum world, and I'm like, no, we live in a post Spider-Man 2 world.
I will say there were some hints of like story cutscenes that they showed like at the end of that trailer that I was kind of like, oh, that seems kind of interesting. But the gameplay looks abysmal.
Yeah, the story.
I'm still holding out hope that like that game will come out and people will be like, hey, it's actually pretty good. And
I'm hoping to. Believe me.
then I'll jump in.
Although
with
I will
both
say
feet.
this, I stand behind this. Like certain characters in this game just look terrible. Like their design. Like I can't stand Thor's design. I can't stand Captain America, especially Captain America's
Thor's is
design.
okay. It's just kind of like
so stupid.
boring.
Like,
dude, Captain America's is like actively bad. It's just like you couldn't think of anything better than
He looks
just,
like a riot cop.
Yeah, than just like military body armor that is like not even different than what it already exists.
This is Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Tomb Raider games. Crystal Dynamics made all of them. Like, imagine Rise of the Tomb Raider with like Hawkeye, or with Black Widow.
why does
That's
Black
already way more exciting,
like
right?
why does the Black Widow, who's not a real person wearing a costume,
Well, that was louder than I
look
thought.
like she's wearing a wig.
Who cares what they look like? Who cares what they look like?
We do, man.
Everyone's
We
been
do.
talking about the way they look.
The nerds do, man.
I'm more annoyed by the voice cast that they got for this fucking game. Like, it's the same fucking generic voices that we've heard again for tons of games
It's
now.
Nolan North and Troy Baker. We were great actors, but like,
yeah, sure,
come on, we've
yeah,
heard-
but let's
Do
move
you-
on.
do
I'll be
want-
saying that when Death Stranding comes out.
Do you want different voice
I
actors,
will be.
or do you want the actors that were in the Avengers movies?
I mean, I
Like,
feel like
what-
the moment Thor opened his mouth, I was like, "That's not Thor."
Yeah, I know.
I kind of want
totally.
fresh voices. I don't
so you-
really need like Chris Hemsworth and
Okay.
and all the other actors from those.
Because that was the majority of people's complaints.
Do you-
I mean, it is.
like,
It is. I'll be honest. There is
That's
a
not my Thor.
there is a moment where my knee jerk reaction was like, "Ooh, this is not this is not the same as watching them on screen."
I mean, I
That's
think
the shallow stuff.
I think part of the problem for a lot of people is that they look at this and they had this expectation of like a visual presentation from the films, but Crystal Dynamics' vision for this game is much more focused on like the comics.
Yeah, sure.
But that's
'Cause,
the
like,
shit
if
we've
you
been talking
listen to,
about
like,
since
the-
E3.
Is it?
We've been talking about that stuff since E3.
But I'm saying, like, listen to like the transition music that's going on during that demo, and it sounds like some like cheesy ass like 80s or 90s like comic book music.
wait,
Yeah.
whoa, wait.
Comic
Comic
books didn't
book
have
music?
music in the 80s and
I
90s.
mean, like comic book shows like fucking.
I want everybody
know
in
what
this
I mean.
room
I
to
know
go
what you mean.
back.
I know what you mean.
Everybody in this room go back to the time when we first heard the news that Crystal Dynamics was making an Avengers game. And the first thing
that's
that
a
we
long
talk
time
about
ago.
is like, whoa, maybe it'll be like really good like the Arkham games.
Yes.
That's the first thing everyone thought. And oh my god, this is not even close to that.
Yeah, because that's the minimum expectation these days.
Yeah, especially since we recently had Insomniac Spider-Man come back and like kind of follow in the footsteps of Arkham Asylum, but in a different universe, and it's just kind of like, yes, this is a thing that tends to work very, very well for this genre of game. Like, of course they're going to do that, right? Of course. There might be some tweaks here and there, but like, yes, that's what they're going to do. Is someone's car alarm going off?
Yeah.
Someone's car alarm.
Death
Stranding.
Stranding.
Let's talk about Death Stranding for a second.
I don't think it's my car.
All right, well, go check on that. We'll have Krispy back in a second. Did all of y'all watch the Death Stranding
Yes.
footage?
Yes.
Ed?
No.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. No, I'm sorry. No.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
What's wrong with
I
you
understand
people?
what the game is now, but like I don't.
So
really
first of
wanna see any
all,
more of
if
it.
you want to know what Death Stranding is, don't expect to get that from the footage they showed. But what I can tell you is I tweeted this earlier. I retweeted this because someone just pointed this out in our Discord, discord.gg/4player. There's an article, I think that was posted on, it was either Polygon or GameSpot. I forgot who it was. I'm sorry. But I tweeted it. You can go find it on my Twitter account. You should read it. Because it explains... Oh, it's on Games Radar. Thank you. Games Radar laid out a very detailed article explaining what Death Stranding actually is from like a
So, Nick?
storytelling narrative perspective. So I'm not going to cover that here, but if you want to know more about that, go check it out because it
And see,
cleared up a lot.
I don't want to know what it is from a story perspective. That's the roller coaster that I'm gonna get in when I start playing the game. I want to know what the game is.
So
What is that?
It's a walking suit.
we still don't know. I mean,
Well,
the
who
footage
cares?
they showed, the footage they show. So here's the
I'll
thing.
find out about the
Here's-
story. I don't
here's
know
the
if
thing.
I want to buy this game yet.
Here's the thing. Someone still pointed out to me that, like, despite the fact that this game has combat and it has stealth and it has like elements of like horror and that kind of stuff, like its core mechanic is walking.
Is ladders?
No, it's walking. Like,
Well,
it's like
ladders
traversing.
to facilitate walking.
It's traversing an environment. Like that is the mechanic.
And people.
But there is obviously
Traversing.
yeah,
It's exploring.
walking.
Yeah,
No.
well, the whole
Traversing?
And-
like, setup is that he's traveling across the country to like reactivate a communications relay.
Yeah, he's creating this
And he's
communications
delivering
relay.
packages to people. When
And
they-
this,
And
Like
when you
side
mean
quests and stuff.
when you say delivering packages, you mean watching cutscenes?
no, sorry. Well, the implication here is that
You know what?
the packages he's delivering is finding these nodes that have been deactivated across.
Well, they also said that there were going to be like side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you'd have to like go like take people their mail and shit.
Yeah,
Because you're like,
and there are quest givers in the world stuff, but like they keep talking about like the central mechanic being.
I bet structurally it's going
walking.
to work in like maybe similar to like Last of Us, where there'll be like a chapter system, or maybe
There would have to be too, because it's
or
supposed to.
kind of like maybe even like Metal Gear Solid 5, where like you'll have different areas and they'll each be their own like open world maps.
I think that would
And
have
each,
to be,
each
considering
one of these areas
it's-
will represent like a different region of the country.
It's supposed to be like
traveling
east to
across.
west coast, right? So,
Right.
like, of course, you can't have an entire open world country.
They, I
right?
mean, like they've shown him walking around. They've shown him like riding a motorcycle at one point.
Yeah.
They've shown big open areas, but I bet a lot of what they've shown has been like those like.
So
East
it's a
Coast
survival
maps.
game.
So what it means to like
have to
traversal,
Subnautica.
traversal being the main mechanic of the game might be true, but like what it means to traverse is probably going to change dramatically from the beginning to the end of this game.
Sure.
So that's kind of all we know.
Are there dungeons?
They spent a strange amount of time talking about like some of the weirder Kojima shit, where it's like, here's the big thing. Everyone's talking about the peeing mechanic. You can open you can open your like fucking like wheel of interactions, and there's an icon there for
your
taking a
dick?
whiz, and you can, if you pee in the same place as other players who have peed in their world, like it makes mushrooms grow.
Makes
And
sense.
I'm
Is
guessing
that a crafting material?
and I'm guessing the mushrooms can be used for something.
This is a crafting game.
Dude,
Is this like Metal Gear Survive?
Dude, who the fuck knows what this is? It still looks crazy. Also, Jeff Keighley's in the game.
Yeah, no one cares. Like, except him, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, Koji is like, check out this star that's in this game. And it's like Jeff Keighley. And everybody's like,
Yeah.
I mean, no one is excited about that except Jeff Keighley, right?
I mean, I'm kind of excited for Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, right? It can only be
that's
that.
the difference. It's not like, ooh, yes. It's more just like, oh, good for him.
I guess, right?
I guess.
But they announced it like it's something that people care about. That's funny.
It's like when Kojima put himself in the Ground Zeroes.
Yeah, but at least that's Hideo Kojima. Happy for Jeff.
I mean, yeah, good for him. I mean, that's great. But
I am going to pee in front of Jeff Keighley.
I mean, that was the first
So he
thing.
can look at my penis.
The first thing Brad said was, "I can't wait to show Jeff
I
Keighley
can't.
my
I
dick."
can't see Norman Reedus' penis, but Jeff Keighley can, and that's what matters.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I don't even. This is such a hard game. I can't even wait to see what our conversations are like after we've all played this game. Because trying to talk about it before it's even a thing is next to impossible.
Yeah, everyone says this is weird, but like, you know,
How weird is it gonna be though?
Boktai, you charged up your power by holding it up to the actual sun.
I think this is more
Kojima
a symptom
worked
of the
on.
fact that like we just don't get that many
Yeah, I mean,
games that look like something that don't look like something that came before.
That's true.
That is true.
That's fucking
There is
true.
something to be said about that. But again, I will say this: if you want some clarity as to like what the narrative drive is in the game, go read that Games Radar article. It's actually really enlightening, and it actually gives me an idea of what the game on a like 10,000 foot view of what the game is about from a story perspective. But it doesn't explain any like the weird shit that you've seen in trailers. It doesn't explain like the weird.
Do you want it to?
No, I don't want it to. It just gives you kind of an idea of like what Norman Reedus' character is and what he's trying to accomplish in the game. That's all it does.
Is
So, like,
anybody worried that this could just be a... Because when
Yes.
we're like, oh, Hideo Kojima is making a new game. I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Metal Gear Solid 3. No one's thinking about Metal Gear Solid 5, right?
Yeah.
Like, but also a lot of people were super disappointed by Metal Gear Solid 5. That is still most recent Kojima, right? And I think one of the things that fucked up about Metal Gear Solid 5 was that his obsession with Hollywood led to him kicking David Hayter to the curb and putting in fucking Jack Bauer. And this is sort of following that thread, and it's way more of his Hollywood obsession, right?
yeah.
It's just like straight, like,
But let's
Yeah,
not
but
talk
at
about
least
there's-
we don't love. We didn't
like
love
half the characters are film directors. Like, what is that?
I don't know, dude. It's his love child, man. It's his Hollywood love child. Just let it happen, okay?
Remember D Walker?
Yeah,
That shit was fun.
it was.
I really liked D Walker.
You know what? Let's not sit here and trash Metal Gear Solid 5. It might not be
was
the
on
best
my
in the
top
series,
10
but it's
list.
pretty good. It's a pretty good game. Let's move on. There's other stuff coming out of Gamescom. We can go through these a little bit quicker. I just put news Roundup. So there's like a lot of little things that were kind of announced here and there. I was expecting some bigger announcements at Gamescom. I was also really honest to God. I was honest to God expecting a release date for Last of Us 2. Nothing. Quiet on that front.
Because Sony didn't really announce anything there.
Yeah, they didn't really have much to go on there. Although I think they said that they were showing a demo of it behind closed doors somewhere at the show. But and that was part of the. I saw somebody tweet this. Somebody like took a picture of the screen in the room where they were demoing it, and like they had the main menu screen, I get, or the start screen, and there was no option for multiplayer, and people were freaking out. But I don't know if that's legit or not. But a few little things. They announced a reboot of Comanche. That's a helicopter game, right?
Okay.
All right. Clearly nothing to say about that.
I know what that is.
I'm sure you do, Chris Davis. Also, Little Nightmares 2 was announced. That's probably the highlight of the show for me. Did anybody else here play Little Nightmares after I talked about it?
I did. Before you talked about it.
Oh, well, I wasn't necessarily talking directly to you. I knew you played it. Dude, that game is so fucking
Little
good.
Nightmares was fine, but then there's this new game, Guilt, coming out, which is like 3D Little Nightmares. So, like...
fuck that shit. I'll play.
There's a couple of cool indie games that were like shown on the floor there that I have my eyes on.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff there. I've been following the, stuff rolling out of there. But, like, Gamescom was where they fucking announced Silent Hills for the first time in that really bizarre, weird way. And, there's been some crazy shit that happened at Gamescom. This was even kind of a low-key, under-the-radar Gamescom this year.
Well, how about a
Is your mic on?
date for Bannerlord?
Is his mic on?
It is now.
Say that again?
How about a release date for fucking Bannerlord?
I would have talked about that in my 4-player minute, Chris Davis.
Woo!
Wow.
Bannerlord.
You've ruined his 4-player minute, which is
Spoiler.
fine by
When's
me.
it coming out? Next month?
March.
Okay.
In early access.
And when's the new Clash of Kings mod coming out?
Probably April.
Can I just say this been...
My fuck you for this week is Bannerlord.
We're not there
2.
yet. Can I just say...
No, we're talking about it.
Oh.
We're just going to drop the topic and bring it
Oh,
up
no,
again?
I thought you were trying to... Okay, go ahead.
Fuck you, Bannerlord 2. Fuck you, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. This game has been announced for like half a decade at the least, right? And they're announcing... People are asking me if I'm excited. It's next year and early access. It's so far away and not done. I'm not excited. It should have been out 3 years ago. Fuck off.
All right. I also want to mention...
I'm going to play it.
Did anybody else think it... They spent way too much time yet again. Gears 5 is coming out in like 2 weeks.
There's some strong talk about that.
Dude,
now.
I thought Gears 5, like, I'm shitting you not, before I saw this Gamescom stuff, I thought Gears 5 was like a year and a half or 2 years away. Like, I thought it was still kind of, like, had been announced, and we were nowhere near release
How about
date.
that Xbox press conference? What
Release date was
a
shown
fucking
at
shit
E3.
show.
I know.
How about that Xbox press conference?
Over my head.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I mean, Microsoft's been striking out this year. Their E3 sucked.
I mean,
right?
we're literally...
As far as their own shit, and now this.
We're on the eve of...
They're like literally said, please be excited about our XO 19
I know.
or whatever.
What do you think they're going to show there for the first
I don't know. Maybe their next fucking Xbox that they've been talking about for years already?
That's what I was trying to get at. Like, we're kind of on
Maybe Halo that they've been talking about for years already?
We are on the eve of new hardware reveals in the next, 6 months. So I think they're probably saving a lot of, software announcements for once the hardware has been announced. So
how about Banjo-Kazooie 3, you fucking
cowards,
bro-ass
you fucking cowards.
Bitches. All they had on the press conference was shooters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Let's next news topic. What else do we have on here? So GameStop was hit with some layoffs. I think 120 plus people, and included I think 6 people from was it half of the game?
Wait, there's
I think
news.
I think it was half of their editorial staff.
News. There's new news.
What was the new news?
Like today, right? Like a huge investor invested in the company.
Yeah,
I didn't hear
He
that.
bought 3% of the shares.
Yeah, but it was the guy they made a movie about him.
The Big Short.
The guy that the Big Short guy
yeah.
invested heavily in GameStop apparently.
Yeah, but like their stock went up a lot because of this or something like
Did
that.
someone like misinterpret that and he's actually shorting the company?
Probably. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so we saw it was weird because like we just started seeing, you know, people from Game Informer talking about suddenly being let go. One guy was on vacation when he found out that he was let go. That's fucked up.
I mean, this is
this
the writing's on the wall,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the company's not even going to exist. A fucking
Spend
print
your
magazine?
Spend your GameStop credit now if you have any.
I mean, I think this is the first step towards that, but I feel like we probably still got a couple years before
Oh yeah,
that officially happens completely.
Well,
But
new consoles.
this is
can
the
come out,
beginning.
you know.
This is. I mean, you're right. We have at least one more generation of
there was
hardware with.
there was an article where the CEO was saying that because of another generation with disk drives,
Yeah.
they're not as worried as they were. Like,
I mean, but like, you should still be worried, like, knowing that your company could potentially be on the verge of just death in 8 years or 4 years now. Like, the console cycles are so much shorter now. Like, you know, you may only have like another 4-year generation before hardware completely boots disk drives out of the way. Like that. Knowing that GameStop could be on the verge in 4 years doesn't help a whole lot. So
I mean, they're already taking steps against that right now. Like they've ended the 10% discount for their
they
used games.
totally changed the way they do their loyalty program, and it is so much in the opposite direction of being friendly to the consumer. You know what I mean?
Everyone's doing that.
Yeah, and it's it's
Amazon
all
and Best Buy discontinued theirs too.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've been, for the longest time before I started buying most of my games through Amazon, I was taking advantage of that pretty heavily, and it's kind of like there's no way this is sustainable. Like just looking at how much money I'm saving doing it, they can't possibly keep doing this. So it finally happened. But yeah, I think the writing's kind of on the wall for GameStop. We'll kind of see where this goes, but the first round of layoffs, I think, this is probably the first of many to come over the next few years. But all right, what else do we have news-wise? Sony officially acquired Insomniac Games the day before the Disney-Sony Spider-Man Fallout on the film side. Now, this is not something to worry about, I think, for on the gaming side of things, because Marvel Films is a separate entity. Sony only owns the Spider-Man rights on film. Marvel still owns it in game format, right? So this is not going to impact the
print too, I think.
Yeah, I think Sony only owns the rights in films.
I was joking.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a comic book character.
So this was a way to keep
Published by Marvel.
Insomniac from going to Marvel.
The timing is strange. No, I mean, I think it was more of just Insomniac has been developing games for Sony almost exclusively for the longest time.
But their most recent game Spider-Man was an Xbox.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Almost entirely.
No, they had a multi-platform game after that. It was that submarine game.
Oh. Was that a multi-platform?
It's like Into the Deep or something like that.
I thought that was still I thought that
it was
still
multi-platform.
Okay, their last game that people have heard of was Sunset Overdrive.
No, I know what game he's talking about. That game is at 3 PAXs.
A
VR
VR
no one
game?
talked about that.
No, it was not a VR game, but it was a much smaller
some
scale.
VR
It was a
stuff.
smaller scale game.
A submarine game?
Yeah, it was. Someone find out what that fucking was.
Into the Deep.
Yes, you should pull that up, Chris Davis. Show Brad what you're talking about.
Song of the Deep.
Song of the Deep. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's
That
the
was the game
GameStop
that,
published
Yes,
game.
it was
GameStop
published by
published it.
GameStop.
Yeah.
They sold figurines and
Look,
stuff
guys.
for it.
Look,
Yeah, it was
guys.
2016.
So fucking
Can I just
awkward.
say
I
very
actually worked there during the push for that game, and that
sucked. Can I just
'cause
say
the game wasn't good?
Can I just say I very intentionally said almost exclusively developed for Sony when I brought the story up, because I do realize there are some
now that we've
exceptions
picked
to that
apart
rule.
that statement.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, but that's interesting, right? Because I feel like Sunset Overdrive was maybe that first time where people sort of realized that Insomniac wasn't a Sony studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, they had made, Ratchet and Clank games. They had made Spyro the Dragon, which people associate with PlayStation, right? So they've always made these games that people associate with PlayStation. Then all of a sudden, an Xbox game, and it's like, wow, anybody could maybe buy Insomniac and take
And
that
I think
from
I think Sony maybe realized, especially with seeing how much,
they also
how many,
made Fuse.
especially considering how many studios Microsoft's been buying up lately. Like, I wonder if Sony was like, we're not going to let them buy up Insomniac.
Yeah.
We're going to just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Because obviously they want exclusive rights on the next Spider-Man game.
You know who should buy Insomniac? Square Enix, because Crystal Dynamics isn't good at making superhero games.
Well, too late. Sony already bought them.
Although one side piece of note, was Sean Layden.
Wait, say again?
Sean Layden, the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
He said that going forward in the future, there's no guarantee that their exclusives are going to be exclusives.
Well, that just means they're coming to PC.
A
Which
PC,
means they're coming to
yeah.
fucking Epic Games Store. They've been releasing like all the Quantic Dream games
Yeah.
on Epic Games Store, right?
Yep. Like Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain are on there now.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I heard
But
some,
they were on Steam before, but the fact that they're on there now
Yeah.
might hint that I think even Detroit is on there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other news? I think that's kind of it.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. It's time for community, right? Ready? I'm going to do this. Nolan's not here this week, so I'm going to go and roll right on through here. We have a couple new patrons this week. I want to thank Robert S. and Ash. I mentioned Ash earlier, left a comment. Thank you very much for your patronage. You guys have brought us closer to our goal of doing our next Project M. We're at 132 officially, so we need 18 more patrons.
18 more patrons. It could be $1.
It could be a
Look,
dollar.
It could be $1.
$1 a month. Support us. Help us buy some new headphones. We'll put together a sweet Project M event. It'll be
We
fun.
will do Project M this year, and it's going to be some dope nostalgic game. Faux show.
Faux show.
And
So
I'm
thank
hoping
you.
it's the
Get your
crazy
mom to
one.
donate. Get your dad to donate.
I'm hoping it's the crazy one.
Do we know it?
Well, we've
We've talked about it. We have.
I know. I
don't
just
We've
remember
narrowed it
either.
down to like 3 that we keep bouncing back and forth.
I think
between.
I'm going to talk y'all into the big one.
Oh God.
Oh no!
Sekiro Project M.
Oh God. No, I would rather die. Okay.
I've already played the game through 3 times.
I of course want to answer some questions from our supporters, our lovely supporters on Patreon. Here we go. Remember, if you support us on Patreon at the $1 tier or higher, or support us on Twitch too, you can ask us questions every single week. We will answer them live on the show. Who's ready?
Let's do it.
Not me.
White Fang says, as someone who grew up with couch co-op games, do you miss them or believe they still have a place in today's industry? My friends and I are always interested in playing together on the couch, but no games seem to have local co-op anymore. And don't get me started with Nintendo's online service quality. Gags. I think there's still a place for them. It's just a smaller.
Yeah, I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
So
Wait, what?
Me neither.
You're literally sitting on a couch with friends right now.
I stand by my statement.
Oh, boo!
Ooh. No,
Shots
but when
fired.
I
We're
go
more professional.
when I go hang out with my college friends, well, like I'm going to PAX next week.
Yeah.
Well, we play like Overcooked and stuff like that. But that's like pretty much the only thing that we.
There's a lot of indie games that kind of
do.
like.
Death Squared was another one that we played.
There's some like the first one. What's the one like that? Like lean into the idea of couch co-op as
Yeah.
like a gimmick. It's almost becomes kind of a gimmick. It's like come full circle to the point where including couch co-op or local co-op makes it kind of a gimmick. I'm thinking of Screen Cheat is a big one.
Yeah.
You know, where like the whole point is to actually like look at your competitors, your opponent's screen to see where they are because everyone's invisible. Like that shit's cool.
I like the Jackbox games.
Jackbox games are great. I mean, those are
Yeah.
great because you can like
Those
literally
are great. Like,
everybody
really good party
pretty much
games.
has the hardware that you need to play that in like a setting, especially for like a party or something.
I mean, yeah, but I do have nostalgic, like memories of like playing Halo and split screen. And
Yeah,
stuff
for
like
me it was
that,
GoldenEye back.
Yeah,
in the day.
GoldenEye too. Yeah,
Smash
sure.
Brothers. Still got that.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we do still have Smash Brothers. Yeah, so there's definitely still a place for them in today's industry. Like,
I mean, the Switch was marketed as that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you came with 2 controllers, right?
that's true, and it's just the market has shifted, or the focus for that has shifted because of the hardware we have, because of the technology we have. Like back in the day, local co-op existed because that was the only option. Like that was the only way to do multiplayer games, was to connect to the same piece of hardware and the same television and share the screen. Like as soon as that was ceased to be a requirement, like, of course, things are going to change. It's going to become a smaller subset of the industry. But yeah, absolutely, definitely still a place for them. You just got to look a little bit harder now. Man of the Lamb says, I've been chipping away at Dragon Quest Builders 2, but I haven't even touched newer games like Fire Emblem or Rebel Galaxy. Has there ever been a game that you feel like you should put down for other things?
Yeah, every game I play.
Every fucking
has
day of my
anybody
life.
here been hearing about Remnant from the Ashes?
I've heard some
This seems like
rumblings.
some crispy ass shit.
What is it called?
It also seems like some Ed ass shit,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it's co-op. Well, yeah.
Is Ed already in it?
No,
Okay.
but I am watching.
Remnant from the Ashes.
Yeah, Mr.
Crispy.
Green Toes gave me a copy.
Bloodborne with guns, with a focus on playing with friends, which only you do. So.
I have friends.
And using the Darksiders art style.
And people, well, it's the makers of Darksiders 3.
Oh, it's Gunfire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and you know what? It's making them way more money than
And you can
Darksiders
put
3.
Well, that's funny. I should have talked about Darksiders 3 this week, because I've been playing that, but I'll talk about it next week when I've finished it.
You're going to finish it?
Yeah, I've played I'm like 12 hours into it at this point. I'm like
Is it a
pretty close.
Shooter?
It's Bloodborne with guns, Crispy.
Bloodborne has
I know.
guns.
Every time Brad says
shut
this.
the fuck up. It doesn't have guns. Not this way.
Mother.
You shoot things.
Yeah.
So, like, the official reviews are, like, good. Not, like, fucking amazing. But, like, the talk is great. People are, like,
These
playing
reviews,
this
yeah.
game.
The scuttlebutt.
Yeah, the
The
scuttlebutt
scuttlebutt.
is there.
Okay. Okay.
Examples of games that I feel like I should put down for other things, though, like pretty much every time I play Final Fantasy 14.
I definitely felt like that in the 12 years that I played World of Warcraft.
Pretty much everything that I play
Yeah.
other than Sekiro, I feel like is an example. Like I feel like I should be laser focused on Sekiro. It's just too stressful.
I felt like that about Sekiro in the opposite direction, maybe. Where
You felt like you should put that down to play other things?
yes, when I was like in the middle of my third playthrough and
You
trying
son
to
of
get
a... You said you beat that monkey?
3 times.
Fuck.
Yep.
Fuck.
I was like in the middle of my third playthrough and I was like, I do not need to get this final achievement or whatever, but I'm gonna keep going because I
It's
hate
so nice
myself.
to have someone who's good at games on the podcast for once.
Fuck. Fuck. All right. Next question comes from Question Mork. That's his name. Question Mork. He says, "Is there a video game character with a dumber name than Hot Cold Man?"
I like that name.
Who's Hot Cold Man?
That's what I want to know. What game is Hot Cold Man in?
Death Stranding.
Really?
I don't know. It sounds like a
It
Death
sounds like
Sounds like a
what's the
Death
other,
Stranding.
What's the other Death
I think that is a
Stranding
Death
character?
Stranding character.
Isn't there like a strong
Peace
hard
Walker.
man?
Is he? Booker DeWitt. I think Booker DeWitt's a good name. It's a good, strong name.
Cold Black.
Cole Black. Everyone always brings up Cole Black.
Because it's just so it like it's bad and lazy. Like it's not even bad because they tried to be good.
Oh, Die Hard Man is the character in Death Stranding.
Die Hard Man. Yeah, that's but it's like, is it Die Hard Man or is it Die Hardman? Is that
Or Die Hard Man. You know?
Where
do you put the
Here's
emphasis?
a dumb one. Jeff Keighley.
Oh no,
Yeah.
not Jeff.
Oh, shots fired. All right. Our next question comes from Scud. He says, piggybacking off of White Fang's comment, with Back for Blood, will we see a return of good 4-player co-op games flood the market? I'm hoping we will. First of all, no one has yet specified whether Back for Blood is going to be good or not. That's that Left 4 Dead. It's the new Left 4 Dead from the guys who made Left 4 Dead, right?
Yeah.
Is that a zombie game or is it something else?
It's like isn't it like Aliens or something?
No, I know what you're thinking of. That's something different.
Well, what if they're zombie aliens?
But I'm pretty sure Back 4 Blood is supposed to be a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. where it's a
so it is zombies.
4-player zombie co-op game from the guys who made Left 4 Dead. So think of it as Left 4 Dead 3, I think. If that's
And the makers
good,
of Evolve?
yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. I guess. But that game wasn't bad. It just didn't have legs, right?
It was kind of bad.
Well, they fucked it up in a lot of ways with
the monetization.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Had potential. Won an E3 award from us one year.
It must have left an impression. All right. All right. So this is. Ooh, someone left a story. I read this story. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna read this. It's kind of long, but it's the first comment from a new patron, so I'm gonna go through it. So bear with me here a second. This is from Ash. He says, "What's a comedic, embarrassing moment that you've had? To set the tone and get the ball rolling, here's mine." He says, if possible, ask Krispy to read this with extreme D&D gravitas. Do you want to do this?
I'll try.
All right, here you go, Krispy.
It won't be good.
We may not have time to actually answer the question, but it's a good story.
Just read the story.
Here we go.
What the fuck? I started taking MCT oil, a sort of concentrated fatty oil, when I tried the keto diet after hearing good things from the jiu-jitsu community. I had heard that it could have some interesting effects on your number twos, but I am a brave soul who usually takes a dump that's so solid it bounces. I added the oil to a shake and drank it down. My two housemates, who were beautiful women, were also up and about getting ready for work. Mid-conversation with this gorgeous housemate I barely knew.
That I barely knew? I'm sorry.
Just moved in?
I felt a rumble. And that rumble, despite my best efforts and most powerful clenching, did not subside. It intensified. I stopped talking. I didn't have the wherewithal to make excuses. I walked off mid-sentence, not bending my legs, walking stiffly as my glutes held back a wave of gushing, hot butt gravy.
God!
I toddled to the toilet, but put my hand on the handle and pushed. The momentary relaxation caused by reaching the door gave me a momentary lapse in strength. There was a squirt. Small but loud, like a crack in a damn wall. I knew that this was the beginning of the end. The toilet was occupied. The door did not budge. A small patch of poo water stained the back of my jeans. The girl in the kitchen had saw, but had turned in disgust. I waddled to the bathroom and locked the door. My shower had a tub for a bottom. I ripped down my jeans, put my ass over the edge, and shit my mistake out. The dump was expelled with such force it rode the curve of the tub like a half-pipe and came back up over the back of my shirt. The tub looked like the swamp in Dagobah and it coated me. I ran the shower, called in sick for work, and buried those jeans in the yard like a body once the ladies had left. Those girls have moved out, but I continue to live in the house, alone. I recently had a water tank installed on top of where I buried the evidence, and fear no one will ever discover the mystery of the poopy pants until long after my death. TLDR, I shit all over myself in my house in front of a hot girl.
Oh my goodness.
That's pretty bad.
Well, you know what? The best part about that is that how you started not really committed. And as the story went on, you started to realize its potential. And you started to get a little bit more. Yeah, that was good.
You gotta build.
Have you ever had, like, really bad diarrhea? Or, like,
Yes.
no.
Right
like a really bad diarrhea stomach. Like, this is going to be bad. And then you go to the bathroom, like, all right, diarrhea, come on. And it, like, goes away. But you know it's not, like, gone away.
It's just dormant.
But you get that really panicky feeling where you're like, no, it needs to come now.
Yes, I have. I think we can all.
I hate that.
I hear you. That's pretty bad. I don't think we have time to share individual stories, but thank you for sharing that one. That one was pretty good. And thank you, Krispy, for reading it with such gravitas.
I'm crying.
Zero Sky says...
I will say, like, last time I had food poisoning, like, the diarrhea was so comical, I started having a good time.
Oh my god!
Just delirious with
I'm just laughing. I was like, this is ridiculous, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for that. Oh my god.
It was like, when you're spray hose and you go to the jet nozzle. Like, when you're like flipping it around and you go to jet.
Yeah.
You're like, this is silly.
If you like put your thumb
This
over your
is
butthole,
just
it comes
silly.
out even faster.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Holy shit. All right. Okay. Zero Sky says, if you had to choose either only warm drinks or cold foods for a whole year, which would you choose?
Warm
drinks.
Wait,
Food.
what?
Both of those
Cold
suck.
food.
Wait,
Cold food.
warm drinks or cold food?
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to do one or the other for a whole year.
Wait, so the only
I
thing
can't
you
drink
can
warm-
consume is a warm
Warm-
drink?
No.
The only drinks you can consume have to be warm.
And the only food you can eat for a year have to be cold. I would go with
Cold food.
cold food. You're right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, cold food all the way.
I just feel like
Warm beer.
Either
warm
one of
water.
those.
There
would
is
be
plenty of good
horrible.
food to be eaten that is meant to be eaten
Wait,
cold.
is it hot drinks?
Hot drinks
hot
or
drinks
cold
or
food?
cold
So
food.
it can't be a warm drink. Like if you're drinking your water, it has to be hot.
Well, it has to
Yeah.
be like... Yeah. Like
Drinks that are
above
intended to-
body temperature?
But not like coffee hot. Just like...
Well,
I think he's specifically saying drinks that are intended to be consumed
You can't
warm or
chug
hot.
hot water, though. And sometimes you need to chug some
I think that's
water.
where a lot of us are leaning towards cold
Also,
food.
but
hot
eating
beer
only cold food
isn't
for a
work for
year
me.
would
It would suck.
get really old.
You'd be eating lots of salads, maybe some cold pizza.
You'd start eating stuff that should be hot, but just it's like cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not reheated.
Just to like try to like capture some of the magic.
Oh god, just lots of
Cold
lots of
But hey, like cold spaghetti, cold pizza, cold pasta.
Okay, what about
Lots of
this?
seafood you eat cold.
What about this?
Or not, maybe not fish.
What
but-
about hot
dude
food
sushi for every day.
or
for my-
cold food? Which means you can't eat any more cold food.
Like fruits.
So, like, if you want like some grapes, they have to be hot.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
hot grapes.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
That's
like
gross.
you
Yeah.
eat a bowl of
He
like
did-
milk and cereal.
He
every
did say
morning.
Has to
warm,
be
not
It
hot.
has to be
Hot. Oh, he
milk
said
and-
warm?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with warm then. I'll drink some warm water.
Alrighty, next question.
Just be peeing a lot.
And our last question from patrons this week.
Wait a minute. Loophole. The liquid has to be warm, but ice is a solid. I could just put ice in the drink and
Then it gets cold though. So you can only have it for a little bit while it's still warm.
damn it.
All right, Don Dolan as our last Patreon question this evening. What's a game that, despite enjoying, you had to stop playing due to the negative impact it was having on your physical and or mental health and or social
Yeah,
life?
like fucking MMOs and stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
the MUD I played, Diablo.
I was like, Diablo 2 is one he asked to bring up for sure.
Chaos Blade.
I mean, there's been several times where I've had to put down the controller while playing games like Sekiro or Dark Souls because I realize that it's having a
Slay the
negative
Spire.
impact on my mental well-being at the time.
Slay the Spire.
Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Actually, I haven't put down Slay the Spire.
Really? I don't know.
Dude, next month. The fourth
You know,
character.
despite how long I played WoW,
character.
I never really let it get in the way of like hanging out with friends and stuff like that.
September 9th. Did I mention that last week as my hype?
What?
Or was that new news?
What?
September 9th. The fourth character's coming to Slay the Spire. Beta branch, but you know.
I don't think you mentioned that last week.
Mm.
All right. Let me see. We probably have a couple questions from Twitch subscribers as well. If you're a Twitch subscriber and you want to ask a question, just drop into the supporters channel in Discord, and you can leave your questions there. Chai says, "Who is your favorite irrelevant incidental character in games and or other media?" One of mine is Ghost Robot from Venture Brothers. The ghost in a robot who is also a weatherman, or for one of Brad's, the cop at the beginning of Eternal Darkness who showed Alex the corpse of her grandfather. Yes.
I don't know why I did that or
Oh, I remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long night. That guy's awesome.
Oh man. I keep thinking of characters and them being like, "Oh, this is irrelevant." Like they have to be completely irrelevant or incidental, and those are the ones I have trouble remembering.
Venture Brothers has a lot of good ones.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
What is your favorite irrelevant or incidental character in games or media? like not a main character, not even a supporting character, just a character that happens to exist in the medium that is your favorite for whatever reason?
God, that's a broad question.
That's a very broad
Let's
question.
keep it to games.
All right, we'll move on. If anything pops into your head,
Wait, y'all have no answers?
I don't have one off.
Rickety Cricket.
What is it?
Rickety Cricket is not insignificant.
Who's Rickety Cricket?
He's like part of the regular cast now on that show.
He is?
Oh, have you not watched?
No.
Yeah, dude.
I've mentioned him before. Ring Soul from Shadow Hearts Covenant. That dude is a bro. You ever played that?
No.
Oh. You're nodding like you know. People who've played it know.
He's lying with
I'm
his
just
face.
making fun of you.
Ring Soul was dope.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
there's like so many. What do you mean?
So, you know what? I'm not gonna say my favorite, but I will say one that I like from Venture Brothers since she brought up Venture Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a villain character that has shown up in later seasons called Brick Frog. It's literally just a dude wearing a frog costume, and he carries a satchel full of bricks, and he throws bricks at people.
That's
That's
all right. I see why you like him.
that's it.
Ed, do you have anything?
Nah.
All right. If anything else comes up, feel free to
Oh,
throw it in.
I like Sandal from Dragon Age Origins.
There we go. Sandal's a good
okay.
one.
Oh, someone just said it at the same time, but there's a delay, so he doesn't know yet. He's probably flipping out as he hears it now.
That's hilarious.
There's one character that
Coincidence.
was a cameo in World of Warcraft of Indiana Jones, and then they gave him an entire zone that was all Indiana Jones like movies playoff like things.
Like homages.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, so he should have remained an incidental character that didn't have any impact on the story.
Gotcha. Our next question comes from Thorax. I guess this is for me. He says, Nick, as someone who doesn't get metal, I have to ask, what makes it appeal so much to you? We're going to do this right now? We're going to do this right
Is
here?
it a long answer?
I mean, I don't know.
Let the essay begin.
I don't have an essay. I enjoy
You don't have to answer that. No.
I enjoy aggressive music. I don't know. It makes it.
Nick has. Nick has.
Music should make you
feelings
feel
deep down.
something. How's that for an artsy answer? Music should make you feel something.
Well,
I
of
like.
course, music makes a lot of people feel
I
a
know.
lot of things.
And metal makes me feel something. I don't know. A lot of music makes me feel
You're
something.
right here. Nick is not in touch with his emotion. He needs to listen to aggressive music in order to feel something.
Yes, that is exactly.
Sometimes I choose not to listen to music because I don't want to feel.
This is
something.
late.
But like,
Does that make sense?
Slade says metal is the best driving music, and I feel like it's the worst driving
oh,
music.
dude,
It
I
just
listen,
makes you
that's
super
like
aggressive.
It's like my favorite thing to listen to when I drive.
Yeah, you drive like it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
Yes. You say that's like it's a bad thing.
For your
I don't know.
passengers.
But
yes.
like,
I was driving around with this guy one day, and he parked his car in a handicap spot.
That's
What?
what metal does to
What?
you.
True story.
That's
Wait,
what
what?
I
metal
was
does
riding
to
with
you.
you, and you parked. Your
where?
car
When was this? What?
This was at your apartment at Wells Branch.
It makes you
And
rage
At the
against
office
handicapped people.
of the apartment. Because you were just stopping to get your mail or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But still, what if a handicapped person pulled up right then?
They'd be fucked, okay? The thing is, like, everyone, like, there's a lot of people out there who probably think I listen to nothing but metal, and that's, like, not true at
He
all.
listens to country music too
I listen to, like, a lot of shit.
during school zones.
He listens to
during school zones.
I listen to a lot of stuff, not just metal. I do happen to have a lot of metal, but I listen to a lot of stuff, so you know what? Suck it.
Is Slipknot metal?
Yes. It is a subgenre of
like
metal,
new
but yes.
What is this-
New metal is, I guess, their official...
New like
NU.
NEW?
like
NU.
Like if they were on Sirius XM, they'd probably have their stuff played on like lithium.
Is there
I don't even
the
know what
channel
that
Lithium.
means exactly.
XM cut there.
I know.
is there neo metal?
What?
Neo Geo metal.
I don't think so,
There
no.
is.
Um,
Do you like video game metal covers of video game songs?
wait, say again?
There's a lot of like metal
I
covers
have one
of
from
video
Kingdom
game
Hearts
songs.
that I think is pretty good. I think that's
Is
the only
it-
one.
Is it simple and clean?
No,
No.
it's the other one. Fuck.
Dearly
What is
beloved?
what is the Kingdom Hearts 2 theme song with vocals called? Sanctuary. Sanctuary. I have a metal cover of Sanctuary. I think it's pretty good. Hey, I have metal covers of. There's a lot of good metal covers of like non-metal songs.
Nick, it's okay to like what you like. By the way, is there a new Slipknot album?
Metal covers of.
Yeah, there is. You son of a
metal
bitch,
covers
and it's
of,
so
like,
fucking good.
Castlevania.
The only
songs
reason
are
I know
good.
is because it's all over my fucking Twitter feed.
I know. You
Nick.
should unfollow me.
Same
You should
here.
unfollow me. You fucking monster. All right. Mr. Greentoe says, with Death Stranding having a mechanic that allows players to pee and recover items by teaming up with others to pee in the same spot, I wanted to ask if you recall any game that uses pee as a mechanic. He says, for example, in Postal 2, it's possible to pee upwards to get sprayed on and use it to put out any fire on you. That shouldn't work. That shouldn't work. So,
What was that N64 South Park?
Conker's
shooter?
Bad Fur Day is a good answer. That's a good one, Scarecrow.
Do you remember that shooter, the South Park shooter that was on N64 back in the day? One of the weapons
Yes.
was like a
Like
snowball that
yellow
you,
snowballs.
that you peed on.
Isn't
guy's
there
on fire.
isn't there a like
Damn.
In Stubbs the
Ultimate
Zombie.
Inferno? Ultima Inferno? You're fucking... Get out of my
Everyone's
head.
reading our minds on this
I
question.
feel like there's a survival game that takes place in the snow where like peeing was like a thing.
No, there's a boss fight in Stubbs the Zombie in which you're peeing into a water treatment plant's tank as guys are trying to kill you to prevent the infection from spreading.
Like it's impossible for there not to be a Yakuza subquest that
Oh.
doesn't involve peeing.
That game Scum? Isn't that...
Oh God!
The shooter that had like... It was like a super like realistic shooter sim. And they had like a character sheet that had all this like stats on it, like how much like shit is in your bowels and like how full your bladder is, and you had to like pee and stuff, or else you'd get like sepsis and die. Did I make that up?
Yes.
That's true, right?
I don't know.
That's real.
It's not ringing
Yeah.
any bells for me. And wait, what was that?
No, it's
All right.
it's a thing.
Our last question is from Biohunter, and I bless you, Ed. Us trying and failing to get the rest of you guys to try out Final Fantasy XIV, half the time it's just us messing with you guys, got me to wonder, is there any other game you really were interested in playing but just couldn't play it for one reason or another? Oh, God.
Many.
There's tons.
There's a ton of MMOs.
And most of the time, it's just time.
Yeah, I mean, almost every... If the commitment wasn't so vast, like, I would love to play games like Destiny or play games like The Division, which I still intend to play The Division 2 this year a little bit, but, like, to get serious about
Hey,
playing
next
one of those
month's gonna
games.
be a great time to jump in.
No Man's Sky is another example. It's a game I would love to spend a ton of time playing, but it's such a...
Yeah, any games that are like getting up there to the 50, 60 plus hour mark, it's like
You gotta pick and choose.
Yeah.
I especially would like to play a lot of old stuff, but I don't really have time for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Or like MMOs especially as well. I'd be
been-
like.
I mean,
super
my
into
entire
MMOs.
Steam library, you could say.
I have wanted to play World of Warcraft ever since I saw David's brother playing the beta back in like 2004, and I swore to myself that I would never ever touch that game,
WoW
and
Classic's coming out.
I have never played a second of it, and I never ever will.
Oh, it's a shame.
You gonna
All
play
right.
Classic, Krispy?
No.
Good.
No, I'm actually playing a different MMO right now.
14 or
No.
Oh,
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Playing the Old Republic.
You're still
Yeah, I
playing
go back
that?
into that
I'm
every once in
still
a while.
playing it because I fucking bought them.
Did you pay the
you bought 'em up.
microtransaction that lets you run?
Well, I subscribe so I can run.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But the cool thing about that is, no, I'm not going to give you the
Not
sales
cool.
pitch.
Let's move on.
All right.
They do give you access to all the expansions, like the paid expansions, even at, like if you run out of subscription.
It's like everything but the most recent one. You
yeah,
unlock
it's like
just
you
by
pay
paying
for it
a
all,
month.
and they give
Yeah.
it to you, and you don't
Yeah.
have to keep paying.
And you also get some coins towards the store
Cartels
as well.
shit or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
How many
story's
people play
actually-
that?
I actually really like going back to that game every once in a while.
It's
All
cool.
right. Before we wrap up the show with the 4-player minute, I wanted to, of course, do our supporter spotlight for the week. Who I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I think, but it's Big Wazoo is our supporter spotlight. If you are a supporter of us on Patreon at the $3 tier or higher, or if you support us on Twitch, you should have access to the supporter spotlight channel in Discord. There is a pinned message in there with a link to a questionnaire. You can fill out the questionnaire and submit your answers, and we will pick one at random every week, and we will read a few of your responses. And they're just general questions about, interesting things about yourself or your gaming habits or your favorite games, that kind of thing. So we pick one at random every week, and we read some of those responses. This week, like I said, Big Wazoo, or Brian, from South Texas. And let's see. I'm going to read his top 5 games of all time.
I bet there's a Metal Gear game on there.
Don't spoil it. Just read it.
God damn it, Brad. All right. Number 5.
I haven't read it. I don't know. I'm guessing.
That's probably because you are very familiar with Big Wazoo. I don't know. Number 5. Demon Souls. This was a blind buy for me, and I got extremely addicted to it. I beat the game 10 times.
Wow.
Unfortunately, you hardly hear anyone bring this game up, but it is fantastic, and I would love a remake. I know Brad is a big proponent of it, and it's the one Souls game that I haven't actually gone back and gotten serious about playing. Is that game like... What would that game be like going back and playing it after having played Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro?
Not that different.
Not that different?
No, people act like it's some weird old thing. It's hilarious.
All right, well, maybe I'll go back and find time for it. Number 4, the Resident Evil 1 remake. I think ultimately what makes this game my favorite is the mansion. I think it's still the creepiest location in the entire series. I agree with you on that. I think that the way they remade that game in particular is super iconic, and it's going to be hard to top.
I'm sorry, what game?
Resident Evil 1 remake.
Yeah. Okay.
The mansion. The mansion is iconic, and especially since they were still using pre-rendered backgrounds for that game. But it had been, many years since the original release. It had come so far. They weren't necessarily held back by hardware limitations because they weren't rendering the environments the same way they would otherwise. So that game still holds up remarkably well. Number 3, The Last of Us. Not much to say about this one that hasn't already been said a million times, but I love everything about this game and cannot wait for the sequel. Just replayed that. It's so fucking good.
So good.
So fucking good.
It's okay.
Shut up.
You shut your fucking mouth. All right, number 2, Final Fantasy. Guesses?
7.
6.
Probably.
God damn it, Krispy. You're always right. Final Fantasy 7. It was my first Final Fantasy, and I remember watching my dad play it a bunch before I decided to start my own game. I love the world and the characters, and I even like how the game looks. Ooh. I wonder if the remake will take its place as my number 2 game when it comes out in its entirety. I don't disagree with you about the way the game looks. It has a lot of charm because of the way it looks, but it is one of the most inconsistent games that I can think of in terms of its art style or whatever. It's just so all over the place. And
I mean, the backgrounds versus the character models
it's
is just
shocking.
It's like a stark difference.
Didn't you point out to me that they use different character model 3 or 4 different character models for the same character over the course of the game?
Oh yeah, depending and they'll mix and match them too sometimes. All of a sudden on a pre-rendered background, you'll see super blocky, no-handed Cloud doing something. It's funny.
It's weird. But still a great game. And number 1, you were right, Brad, Metal Gear Solid. The game that really made me appreciate video games. It introduced me to stealth gameplay, which if I have the option to be stealthy in any game, I play that way. And it's got a great story with an interesting cast of characters. And obviously, it introduced me to the Metal Gear Solid franchise, which is my favorite by far. Yes, that is a fantastic fucking series, and it's a fantastic fucking game. That the opening sequence of that game is it's just burned into my fucking brain from when I was a kid. When you swim up and you're in the
little one-man sub.
When you gotta get through that area to get to the elevator. Ooh, I love that place. All right, and I'm going to read as a segue into our 4-player minutes. I'm going to read his 4-player minute, and this is, of course, Hype Sweat. Thank you and fuck you, Hype. I'm very hyped for Death Stranding. While I'm sad we won't see any more Metal Gear Solid from Kojima, I'm excited that he finally gets to do something different, and it looks very different. His Sweat. I just don't have as much free time as I used to, and my backlog continues to grow. There's so many games I want to pick up, but I know I shouldn't because of my already large backlog. Yeah, I mean, that's That's pretty standard.
universal
Get
feeling.
ready. I'm not sure how old you are, Brian, but it only gets worse. His thank you goes to his mom. I recently came to the realization that if it wasn't for her, I would not have been introduced to some of my favorite series like Metal Gear Solid, Castlevania, and Resident Evil. He doesn't give any explanation as to how she introduced him to it, but that's pretty fucking cool. My mom has no idea what any of those things are. And my fuck you goes to Ubisoft. I really enjoyed Ghost Recon Wildlands and was very hyped for Ghost Recon Breakpoint until they announced that it was going to be always online. That instantly killed any hype I had for the game. Was Wildlands not the same way? I thought Wildlands was also kind of like a Destiny clone.
Yeah.
Does he know that? Did he play what? Okay, he's in chat right now.
Oh, it didn't need to be online.
Okay. For some reason I was still thinking Wildlands was kind of like a Destiny clone, but I think that's what they're going with Breakpoint more than Wildlands.
I think there was like a multiplayer component to it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Big Wazoo, thank you very much for your submission. Like I said, we'll pick one person at random every week. We might eventually circle back around and pick the same person again, in which case I'll just read different responses. I'm keeping track of all this stuff. So, again, if you're a supporter or a subscriber on Twitch, just head into Discord at discord.gg/4Player. Jump into the supporter spotlight channel. Click on the link that's pinned at the top there, and you can submit your answers, and we'll draw a new one every week. All right, Brad, are you ready for the 4-player minute?
Oh, not really, actually.
All right, go.
My hype for this week is for a game I'm sure everyone's going to be playing this weekend, and that's Telling Lies.
I was thinking about it.
Think it. You don't. Need
I didn't play Her Story, so I know. I'll let myself out.
What's wrong with you?
Everything.
Krispy, Ed,
I played Her
y'all
Story.
played Her Story?
Yeah.
No, Papa. No, I played Her Story.
Yeah. Well, Telling Lies is like the new one from Sam Barlow.
It's like a bunch of Skype calls, right? And they're all like trying to.
Oh, it's that game.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that game.
And
It's
apparently
kinda
it's
cool.
really good.
So you're like scrubbing through like footage that's more, I guess, like organic than the interview stuff from Her Story, but it's like the same type of game. It comes out Friday and it's gonna be fucking dope.
Fuck yeah.
So I'm
I'm guessing we'll be talking about that next week. I'll try and play it this weekend.
My fuck you goes to Henry.
Your son?
Yeah, fuck that kid. No, I mean he's cool, I guess.
He's alright.
Fuck me because I can't really play VR games anymore. You know?
Because you can't take your eyes off them.
No,
Because you can't be like isolated. I get paranoid in my house playing VR.
Yeah.
It's like I like go in my room and lock the door just to make sure someone can't come in and.
I mean,
shove an uncooked
Brad's
hot
gonna
dog
like
in my
be
mouth.
swinging at a Beat Saber thing and is gonna whack Henry in the head.
Yeah.
Well, there's one space in the house that I can play VR, and it's only at night and on my stream day, and you know, there's not even enough really room there to do the kind of VR that I want to do, and it's frustrating because like I really like VR, and like the past couple of years, some of my favorite experiences have been VR games, and I tried playing a PSVR game that got really good reviews, and it seemed really cool, but it had such a steep learning curve. I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't get to play enough, and the reason I didn't get to play enough is because of this situation. So it's like fuck. So it's not a fuck.
Which
you.
game was
it's
it?
more just. It's called Sirento VR. It just came on like PSVR, and I shit you not. Do you remember seeing like those videos of like expert like Dishonored players like run into like a room and like do all kinds of crazy shit and like dispatch enemies?
Yeah.
Like via combat and like crazy moves and stuff. It's like that in VR. And it's like
Sounds cool.
insane. And you could tell that the ceiling, like the learning curve is like way up here. And I just want to like be able to do that. But I need time and I need space to do it. And I can't do that. And it's all Henry's fault.
Oh, Sirento?
Sirento VR. Look it up. It's getting
I am definitely
really good reviews. And it feels awesome to like jump around in that game. SAIRENTO. Like if you have the space and you have time to dedicate to VR, it has a steep learning curve, but once you start getting it, it's like fucking rad. I just have not had the time to dedicate to it. No, sorry
I
for
am definitely
stretching
gonna
this
check
out.
this shit
I have
out.
another hype, or this can be my sweat. Next month, this was probably my sweat last week. I remember now. 4th character for Slay the Spire comes out. Also Monster Hunter Iceborne. But you know what? There's like a secret awesome flood of indie games coming out next month that no one, like a lot of people aren't talking about yet, but they will be fucking talking about. Trust me. Like there's some cool shit. You'll see. I don't have time to get into them now. That's it. Oh, my thank you is Ed. Thanks for being on the podcast today. Also, fuck us, because we were supposed to invite Nolan up here to talk about Rebel Galaxy.
I told Nolan to come up here and poke his head in during the break, and I guess he got buried in work.
We'll talk about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to play more. I've been taking them. I don't have enough time to play all these games. Fuck me.
All right, fuck you. All right, Ed.
So this is perfect timing because my hype is for PAX West next week. I'll be there, and I'll be hanging out, playing some indie games. Maybe some of those games that you're talking about that are coming out in September.
We'll do a podcast after you get back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll be back sometime to do a podcast for that.
You go to PAX a lot, huh?
I go to that one every year.
Have you played Creature in the Well? In the Well? That comes out next month. Blasphemous comes out next month. Children of Morta comes out next month.
That one
River City Girls comes out next month. I'm telling you, that's like half of it.
My sweat is I got switched to a different team at work, and there's a little bit more of outside of work responsibility, like outside of work.
It's
hour
that spot, man. It's where you're sitting. Because that happened to Nolan.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the same things. Like
work-life balance, Ed. Come on.
So like I keep getting notified on Slack that there's shit I need to look at when I stand up from this couch. But what that means is that when I get home, I'm like exhausted because the entire day I'm just like.
There's been this is not necessarily attributable to like me getting more stuff happening at work, but for whatever reason, just as time goes by, I'm finding myself like as my routine has changed since like Robin moved in with me and stuff. Like I get to the point where it's like it's 10 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I could sit down and play like a solid 2 hours of games, but I'm like, or I could go get in bed.
I totally did that last night. I got into bed at like 10 o'clock and I brought my Switch in and put it next to me, and then I like at like 10:30 I looked over and I saw my Switch. So I was like,
"Yep,
out,
not happening."
Yeah, I fall asleep next to my Switch all the time.
Yeah, so that's kind of a sweat, especially with all the awesome, crazy good games that are coming out in the next like week, like Astral Chain, Daemon X Machina is shortly after that. Like some of these
Zelda's coming
Switch,
out next month.
yeah, some of these Switch games look.
Let's
really,
not forget
really,
about
the Battle of the
really
Souls
cool.
clones. Is it going to be Code Vein or Surge 2?
Yeah.
Also, Man of Madonna comes out next week.
I have to finish Sekiro before one of those
also,
games.
Blair Witch comes out next week.
Yeah. So my thank you is
He beat it 3 times.
is for all you guys having me on the podcast again.
Anytime,
it's nice to be
sir.
back. It's nice to be back.
Anytime.
In the regular swing of things, and to everyone who watched my stream last night, since I had been gone for like 6 weeks in a row.
What did you stream last night?
Supraland.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah. So yeah, and then what was the last one? My fuck you.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll skip that.
All right. That's fair enough. All right, Krispy.
Okay, I've got 2 hypes. I'm gonna do a gaming and a non-gaming.
Cool.
My gaming hype is for Control.
Fuck
Again,
yes.
Nope,
It's next Tuesday.
Which next
I
week
know.
game is going to be
I
the
took-
Secret Stinker?
I took next Wednesday off. I'll be playing. Actually, I'm probably gonna.
Oh, I didn't do that though.
I might end up streaming some.
Which
of that.
game next week is going to be the Secret Stinker? I mean, there's 4 biggish games,
It's gonna be
right?
Control.
Man of Medan,
Control, Blair Witch,
and
Astral Chain.
Astral Chain.
Ooh, it might be Astral Chain.
I've heard some stuff from Austin Walker about Astral Chain that has me a little worried. But we'll see.
We'll see.
Oh no.
You're worried about it sounding too easy.
Oh.
Among other things. He also said the combat is like shallow.
This always happens on my 4-player minute. My sweat.
Happens on everybody's 4-player minutes. Crispy.
No, but it's specifically
You're not
you
special.
interrupting my 4-player
No, I interrupt everybody's 4-player minute.
Okay. Well, I only pay attention to mine. My sweat is for
Exactly.
Dragon Quest Builders 2 because man, I'm like 50 hours into that game.
Where are you now?
I'm still in the mining town.
Yeah,
like I'm still building mining shit.
It's long.
That's
It's like I've been in the mining town like 10 hours.
Wait, is it like
the
the second
Yes.
island? Oh my god!
The second of I don't even know.
And you're
how
50
many.
hours in?
Dude, I am so many hours in. Maybe
This
maybe
game
more like
is
30.
so
40.
much game.
I don't know.
It's
But, like,
absurd.
It's huge. And it's like every time I finish a goal, they're like, okay, now we're going to build bathrooms. And I'm like, okay, god damn it.
You know what's crazy?
I'm
like 50 hours in. I'm considering restarting on PS4.
That's stupid.
That's
Sucks.
Making Malia play.
What sucks is that it's not even like relaxing. Like it's a very chill, relaxing game, but I can't even like, I can't go home tonight and like play it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes before I go to bed because I'll just play it for 4 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's just like very like, but my mining town is coming together pretty nicely. It looks pretty cool.
Ancestors also comes out next week.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
The new Patrice Désolé.
Yep.
Yep.
I've heard you have to learn a skill that lets you move an object from one hand to the other.
I want to go home. My fuck you for the week is to Brad.
Yep. I was like, this guy.
Did you listen to what I said?
No, I didn't.
As an ape man, you have to learn. You have to level up. You learn a skill to move an item from one hand to the other. That's how.
I don't like that
granular.
game. I don't like that game.
I've never played it.
I don't like that
know
game because evolution is a lie.
Ooh.
Wow, that's your
Got a hot take in here.
Spicy.
Hey, creationists are welcome.
I'm just joking.
Are they though?
JK, evolution's great. My thank you for the week goes to whoever the fuck greenlit The Matrix 4. Like, what is that gonna be?
I know, man.
Because here's the thing, man. If you look at the Wachowskis, like they're real hit or miss as far as like.
This is only one of them though.
Yeah, it's Lana Wachowski. But like their movies since like even the Matrix trilogies, have been real hit or miss. But like this year, everyone decided that Speed Racer was amazing, which I've been saying for years, but nobody
That
listened.
didn't happen this year.
Okay, last year. You're right. I'm sorry, but there was a huge surge very
we
recently
about the live action
of
Speed
people
Racer?
like coming around on the Speed Racer movie, just kind of like out of nowhere because it was amazing. I think it happened around the time that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out, because people were like, "What other movie looks that fucking riotous, like in color?"
Also, this Matrix 4 is written by the same guy who wrote Cloud Atlas, which strangely enough is sitting on my shelf at home, and I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I mean, like that was
that
another
strange?
movie they did too.
I mean,
with your obsession
I didn't
with
know
physical
I
media.
had it.
But my point is that like they've done some movies that maybe haven't like performed very well, or like are maybe not even that good. Like I don't think the Matrix trilogy or the Matrix sequels are that good, but the ideas, like what they're actually saying, like the thesis of those movies are insane.
The lore.
Like, huh?
The lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the lore. The fucking like the actual like symbolic thesis of the movie. Like if you look at what the first Matrix movie is saying, like what its message is, what it's quote unquote about, and then you look at the sequels, it's like a direct refutation of the original movie. It's like they literally like grew and changed as people over like the 10 years between those two movies, and then we're like, whoa, we don't agree with that stuff anymore, and then wrote a movie about how that first movie was dumb. But
the first movie is still the best.
No, the first movie is amazing. the story
Interesting, but
structure,
the movies were bad.
the story structure of those movies are a mess, and they're really bad. And like that's kind of like a theme with them, is like the actual structure of the movie will just be like really terrible. But like what the risks that they're taking and like the way they're going about making their movies and what they're trying to say with their movies are like really ambitious and crazy. Like
Not to mention
are fucking like really out there, and not to mention the fact that both Trinity and Neo are going to be in this new movie, and they're both fucking dead. So, like, what are we getting? Like, what is this movie even going to be?
I'm also wondering, like,
prequel.
What the hell is Lawrence Fishburne?
he hasn't been confirmed yet, but that'll happen. I mean,
Dude, where is Lawrence Fishburne is the fucking theme of the prequel sequels or the Matrix sequels.
It takes
I was like,
place.
why isn't Morpheus in
It
that
takes
movie
place in
anymore?
the time period when Anakin is still. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can like make your jokes all you want, but I'm fucking serious.
Dude.
Like the first Matrix movie is incredible.
I'm just thinking of
the
worst
fact
case
that
scenario.
that movie even got sequels is incredible, even if they suck. And there is like some real like good stuff in there if you're willing to like sift through piles of bullshit. And it's super exciting that this franchise of any franchise is like getting this surprise resurrection because I don't know. There's nothing else like it.
Hot take here. I still think the ending. I didn't like Matrix Reloaded or Revolutions particularly much at all, but I think the ending to Revolutions is like legit brilliant.
It is. It's
Dragon Ball Z.
It's very
No, I mean,
flawed.
yes, the fight, the stupid Dragon Ball Z fight at the end is dumb, but like,
No, but that's
once
kinda
that
like
actual, once they hit the ground and like
that
they're,
is to stay.
once they hit the ground and like all the shit that happens after that point and like the way he finally,
Man, imagine how much better
Takes-
Reloaded would have been though if
So good.
Agent Smith didn't show up in the beginning of the movie. If like at the very end of Reloaded, that's when it's like, hey, I'm Agent Smith and I'm back, and you're like, what the fuck, man?
Here's a hot take. This is
I agree.
This is super gross and corporate, and only happening because of the recent resurgence of Keanu Reeves' popularity.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly why the Matrix sequels existed too. But at the end of the day, they're hiring Lana Wachowski to do this, and like the Wachowskis,
Have you
they
seen the
kind
one?
of like don't fuck around when they're given an opportunity
What's
to
the
make
one
a
with
big
Mila
movie.
Kunis and what's his name?
Jupiter or something.
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter
or-
Ascending.
You seen that one?
I've seen.
Is that a Wachowski movie?
yes?
Yep.
I've seen
maybe I should watch
large
that.
chunks of it, and it's another one of those where, like, structurally as a whole, it's not great, but like the visuals and some of the shit going on in that movie are incredible. Granted, that movie is based on a French comic that was already pretty incredible. So,
Interesting. All right.
guys, they made a live-action Speed Racer movie, and it was like
Pretty good.
one of the best movies of that year, and I would say definitely somewhere in the top 50 of that decade.
Oh shit!
I came out that. I want to see what
Speed Racer is amazing, dude.
I did
It's
not
so
know.
good.
I did not know that. And
I've seen that movie a bunch, and I still tear up at parts of it. Like there are parts of that movie
Oh,
that are
shit.
just like, wow. They're just like, wow.
that.
And Emil Hirsch is like fucking done. Like he's canceled. Didn't he like rape somebody or something?
What?
Yeah, the actor who plays Speed.
Really?
Yeah,
shit,
is
Duck.
like I don't know if he raped somebody. He got fucking Me Too'd for something. It was bad. It was pretty bad. I don't remember what it was.
What was
But,
it?
like-
He got milkshake ducked.
Yeah,
Milkshake Duck.
milkshake duck really only applies when it's like the next day
Oh,
after you've
gotcha.
heard about.
I've
something.
misused it. Okay.
Like,
Hey, well, you know
You
what?
just learned about the meme today, Nick, and you're already messing
I know.
it up.
I'm already fucking it up. I'm gonna roll
I
right
don't
out
know
of
what he did, but it was something.
I'm
There's
gonna-
a reason why you
The
haven't
Dark
seen him in a
Knight
while.
came out in 2008. Wall-E,
Hey,
Iron Man,
I said top 50.
Hey.
the wrestler.
Remember the 4-player minute?
I'm gonna roll right into my
Oh,
4-player
that sounds the
minute
best movie of that
with
year.
my first hype
It
slash.
was one of.
Let the right one in.
I hate you.
It was one
my
of the
first
best movies
hype
that-
slash sweat this week is The Matrix 4. Man, I saw that news just moments before finding out the Sony Disney Spider-Man
Aggravated
news.
assault. Stop poking me. I'm obviously ignoring you.
I will just say, The Matrix 4 is like, first of all, like, I think that movie deserves a good sequel. I don't know if we're gonna get it, but like, if The Matrix gets successfully rebooted and it's good again,
No. I mean, it's never going to be what the original Matrix was.
I don't even need it to be what the original
Even if
was.
it's a
but
bad movie, it's going to be like spectacular. It's going to be a train wreck worth combing over.
I think I would be okay
Like
with that.
Death Stranding.
Maybe. All right. And my second hype, my real
is
hype
he
this week.
really in Once Upon a Time in
That's what I
Hollywood?
was trying to poke you for.
Wait, who was?
Yeah.
The guy
You're
from Speed
telling
Racer.
me that Quentin Tarantino
He
put
was?
a problematic person in his movie.
Yeah.
Who was he in that?
Jay something?
Huh.
Jay Sebring?
Oh yeah.
Anyways, my other hype is actually I am hyped for Control, but Blair Witch is coming out next weekend. I think I'm going to stream it on Friday. It should be fun. I don't know if it's going to be good, but for whatever reason, I've watched some trailers for that, and like it's striking all the right notes for me. It's looks like it's got some good atmosphere. It's gonna have some spoopy shit going on, and yeah, I'm kind of in the mood for that right now. So I'm very much looking forward to Blair Witch next Friday. Tune in Friday night. I think I'm starting at 8 p.m. My thank you this week goes to Limited Run Games for finally running that Turok 1 and 2 sale. I was really nervous about missing out on it, but I got both collector's editions. I feel ridiculous for doing so, but I'm so excited. So thank you for finally giving me a physical print of like some of my favorite games of all time. It's fantastic. Thank you. And my fuck you, of course, goes to the whole Sony, Disney, Spider-Man debacle. Krispy, you make some fantastic points about the nature of Hollywood and Disney killing, studios and the theaters and all that shit. It's a very good point. But man, did it have to be Spider-Man? Did it have to be Spider-Man?
We only got 4 movies with Spider-Man out of the MCU.
If there was some sense of closure after the last one, I wouldn't be so upset. But like,
you mean like Quicksilver?
Quicksilver?
Yeah, from Avengers.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure. I know what you're implying, but like, Spider-Man's like we finally got this version of Spider-Man. He's in the MCU. Part of the reason that it works so well is the way that they're working him into the grander universe. Mm-hmm. So to take him out of that and suddenly have him exist on his own, I'll be happy to get 2 more movies with him in it. But like the fact that they're going to completely ignore all the other stuff they've spent so much time building up is just really unfortunate. And of course, they're going to shoehorn him into the fucking Venom universe or whatever that they're building on that side. And that's just not ideal. Not good. I don't know. Fuck all that. I think it's a nightmare scenario, to be totally honest. But yeah, that's my 4-player minute. That's it. That's all I got. That's all we had. That's our show. We can go home now. Thank you guys so much for listening.
The longest one in a while.
4playernetwork.com is our website. Check us out there. You can find all of our episodes there. You can watch the stream on 4pp.tv. And, of course, you can join us on Discord, discord.gg/4player. You can subscribe to us on Twitch, or you can support us on Patreon. Help us get that hit 150 so we can do our next Project M. It's at patreon.com/4player. Ed, thank you so much for being here. You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing me on.
You're welcome anytime you want. You're just, you're right down the road. Come on down whenever. You're closer than you were. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
By a lot.
Yeah.
So you're welcome anytime. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching us live. We will see you guys next week. Good night.